USA to a gold medal. Pop, who suffered a stroke earlier this season, said in a statement, while his love and passion for the game remain, he's decided it's time to step away. It's been announced that interim head coach Mitch Johnson will succeed Pop as the next head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. I'm James Pledger for San Antonio Sports Star.
Joe Reinagel.
That's the third time in 7 seasons the San Antonio Spurs are the NBA champions.
Jason Minix.
They go back to big day as Super Bowl champions. Dallas 52, Buffalo 17.
It's the Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Maybe you're watching on YouTube. You can always subscribe to the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel. I'm Jason Minix. Joe Reinagel took the day off, but even Joe Reinagel, day off on the golf course with the news that we got today. Joe, hate to bother you on a day off, but the news today, not surprising, yet stunning that it's official. Greg Popovich will no longer be the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs.
Well, you're exactly right, Jason. And you know, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, right? I mean, it was time for that announcement one way or the other, and today we got it. I tell you what, even though you kind of expected this to happen, it's a little bittersweet. You know, Greg Popovich is an institution in San Antonio, institution with the San Antonio Spurs, and, kind of a sad day that he has to step down the way he has to step down. But I think he's absolutely doing the right thing, and God bless him. I'm glad he's staying around and be a part of the front office.
And you just said it is the right thing for the organization. And I know in recent days I questioned whether Pop could make the right decision because it is personal. He is a competitor, but it is the best thing for the organization. The statements since the stroke all indicated that he was working to come back and return to the sidelines. And I think as he's in his statement today, the day-to-day grind of being a head coach at 76 is just too much. And the best thing for the organization is to not have him in that situation. Like you said, I'm glad he's staying on as president of basketball operations. All the things that you and I talked about, I don't want to say predicted, but kind of our thought process of what was best for the organization seems to be working through, with maybe the exception of the almost immediate announcement afterwards that Mitch Johnson is having interim taken off the tag, and he's now the permanent head coach. Clearly, this has been something that was decided, I would say, more than a couple of weeks ago, and it was just, when are they going to announce it? When are they going to release it? And I don't know about you. Of all the potential candidates, he would have been at the bottom of my list.
Well, absolutely. We've said this publicly. I'm not sure that Mitch Johnson is ready, but the Spurs feel like he is. And Mitch Johnson may turn out to be a great coach. Maybe it's a great hire, and we just don't know. But obviously, I'm not thrilled with that announcement. Not at all. I would have, with the candidates that are out there and available, it seems like they could have gone a different way, gotten a veteran head coach with some experience, with some ties to this team. But obviously they feel pretty highly with Mitch Johnson. And I think the players, Jason, had something to do with this too. You heard them come out after the season talking about Mitch Johnson. Wemby was one who was a big cheerleader for this guy. So maybe that had a little something to do with it as well. Obviously, we have to give him the benefit of the doubt and hope that he is the right choice. But I just feel like with some of the candidates that are out there, this feels like a little bit of an undercut, if you will, for lack of a better word. And I just think they could have done better than Mitch Johnson. But obviously, we've got Mitch Johnson, and we'll see what he can do.
And to be fair, Mitch has been a part of this organization for a little more than 10 years. He was the hand-picked interim coach, and we know how this organization works. They probably go through all kinds of scenarios and what-ifs, and he was the guy. Mike Finger, who will join us coming up at 3:35 from the Express News, tweeted out, now official, quite a move. All but a few basketball coaches in the world would sign up for this gig. Spurs chose a 38-year-old who'd never run an NBA team before 6 months ago. rest assured, this didn't happen without Wemby's approval. And you wonder how much Wemby and other players factored into this decision.
Well, I'm sure they did. And in fact, I'm positive that they did. Just the outward public support for Mitch Johnson after the season ended by Wemby himself, I think tells you everything you need to know. They wanted this guy. I just think this franchise is in a position right now where they're growing, where it's critical that they make the right moves. They're critical that the coaches are the right coaches in the right places. I just think an on-the-job training head coach is not the right move. And I will say that publicly. I just don't think this is the right move. The Spurs obviously think highly of him, but we saw him coach. We saw him make the mistakes. And guess what, folks? He's going to make mistakes moving forward. This is on-the-job training as a head basketball coach in the NBA. And that's clearly what it is. And I really hope that he succeeds. I will root for him and I will publicly support him, but I just don't think it's the right move, and I wish the Spurs would have gone in a different direction. They didn't do that, so we've got what we've got, and we'll see what happens moving forward.
And as you say that, Joe, I just look at, all right, the consistency, the continuity, that's a plus, that's a positive. But I'm with you, with the available candidates out there, with this important offseason, I was hoping for somebody a little bit more veteran. And I can't say that I'm overly surprised that this is the route the Spurs went. No indications that they had talked to anybody else. And again, with the Spurs, it's surprising that you hear it. The fact that Shams only beat the Spurs email by about 12 seconds tells you how tight-lipped the Spurs are able to keep everything under wraps. Now, the one thing, though, let's go back to, old 1996. Bob Hill gets fired, Pop takes over, and nobody in San Antonio was happy with that decision. Hell, Pop won a championship. They'd lose 3 in a row, we would get fire Pop calls. Won a second championship. Lose 2 in a row, we'd get fire Pop calls. It took Greg Popovich 2 titles in a lot of years before it became in Pop we trust and the celebrity status that he currently holds in this city.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And look, I hope the same thing happens with Mitch Johnson. I hope that he is a guy that we're all wrong about. The only difference between that scenario that you just said and the scenario with Mitch Johnson, we saw Mitch Johnson in action, and we saw the rookie mistakes that he made. And that's what gives me concern. And you've got Wemby, you've got Castle, you've got Fox, and you've got a good foundation. They're going to have a couple of draft picks. I think they'll be active this offseason. You're going to have some pieces in place to move this team forward, and I think that can happen very quickly. I would just have preferred a more veteran head coach to come in here and run this organization because, again, I think Mitch Johnson is going to be learning as he goes. And when you're talking about a critical time in a franchise's history, I just don't believe that going with a rookie head coach, and I'm sure he's a brilliant mind. I have no doubt that Mitch Johnson is a brilliant basketball mind. No question in my mind about that. I just don't think at this point in time in this franchise's history that this is the right move. But again, Jason, I will support this guy, and I hope that he succeeds beyond belief.
Exactly. I mean, there's the Spurs fan in me and then the sports talk host of me that tries to be somewhat objective, and it's hard to fathom that, the keys to this Ferrari were given to a rookie when you look at some of the other names that are available, because I'm ready for championships again. And I find it interesting that the Spurs so quickly announce the change, because you could just follow along on social media. The, flowers going to Greg Popovich, to immediate, anger's not the right word, but there's a lot of negativity around Mitch Johnson getting the interim tag. It's almost like, by doing it so quickly, the Pop celebration of an incredible career kind of goes sideways, because now everybody's more reacting. I can't believe they gave that job to Mitch Johnson.
Well, and I think they did that on purpose, because if you wait, then you're starting to talk about Malone. You're starting to talk about Steve Kerr. You're starting to talk about the other coaches that are out there and available. And I don't think they wanted that chatter to happen. I think they wanted to put this to bed. This is who we're going with. We don't want any other speculation about anybody else. And I think that's why they did it so quickly, Jason. I really do. And again, this leads me to believe that this decision has been made for some time. I don't believe this was a day decision. I think this decision has been made for some time. We're going to go with Mitch Johnson. Mitch Johnson knew that moving forward. He can prepare. He can begin to plan. And I think this decision has been made for some time. And that's why this transition is taking place so quickly.
Absolutely. I agree with that. But just some of the reaction. I know you're on a golf course playing in a tournament this weekend. Some of the tweets, just responses to my tweet earlier. No. What in the actual are they thinking? Dumb move by the Spurs. Most likely no playoff again. This is mind-boggling. What are they doing? Did we give up on winning basketball? And last person you wanted, this team is going to be bad. See, and I disagree with a lot of that. I mean, Mitch Johnson is a good coach. Is he the best guy for the job? And maybe in the Spurs' mind he is. Was he the best candidate for the job? And clearly the answer is no. There was other more veteran coaches that I just would have liked to see be able to come in.
Well, look at Spurs family, right? And I know that's what they're thinking. He's been with us. He's been loyal. He's been working up to this, and it's a Spurs family. We're going to pass the torch to one of these guys. The only problem with that is, and again, I just think it's the timing of the history of this franchise as they are rebuilding and have been rebuilding. And now you've got a foundation of players. You're going to get a couple of high draft picks coming out. You're going to be active in the free agent market. I truly believe that this summer you're going to add some pieces. And I just think putting this all together, I don't think, and I'll say it plainly, I don't think Mitch Johnson is the right hire for this basketball team. But having said that, he is going to be hired. He's going to be the guy. And I really hope he's successful. But again, I'll say it to anybody. I do not think this is the right move. But again, I hope I'm dead wrong.
Absolutely. I hope he proves us all wrong and we're having river parades in the very near future. I guess you have nothing short to talk about on the golf course today. I picture your fancy multiple-day golf tournament. Hit it well, my friend. Enjoy the day off.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm just glad you left SportsCenter to a professional instead of trying to do it yourself.
Are you kidding? I asked Pledge, I was like, hey, I need to get the SportsCenter. Well, I've already done it. Pledge, man, he gets a chance to talk, man. He's taking it, man. I didn't even have an option today.
You guys have fun, man, and it's a pretty remarkable day, that's for sure.
Enjoy it, absolutely. Enjoy the golf tournament. Joe Reinagel on a day off calling in because this might be one of the biggest sports stories in the history of San Antonio. When you think about all the different sports-related stories, the end of an era, Greg Popovich will not be the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. Expected, yet still stunning when you see it being made official. You want to react? 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Get me on Twitter at Jason Minix. If you're watching on YouTube, you can always comment there. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 is the number. Heading into the final weekend of Fiesta. I know a lot of you are coming home from the parade today, the Battle of Flowers parade. Different events, King William Fair tomorrow, whatever it is, have a good time. And that good time lands you in bracelets and you get arrested. You want to get out of jail fast. You know the best way to do that is by calling my good friend Albert and his great staff at AA Best Bail Bonds. 210-225-2121. Text BAIL to 474747. You can even start the bonding process online at mybestbailbonds.com. You don't have to call attorneys or anybody else to get out of jail. You don't want to be forced into a PR bond. If the jail offers you a PR bond, make sure you truly understand what all those conditions are before accepting it. Your best option for stress-free bail bonds is AA Best Bail Bonds because nobody beats their price. They offer payment plans, have a free shuttle service. They are discreet and confidential and open 24/7. Offices all over San Antonio and Texas, services nationwide. So if you're up in Dallas, down in Corpus, anywhere in between, license number 149, call AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121, or go online, mybestbailbonds.com.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
We're definitely going to be late to the concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little detour. I gotta fill up my gas tank, and I know this place a couple towns over where the gas is cheaper.
Are you serious? We're going to be late for the concert because you're driving out of the way for cheaper gas? Just use Upside.
What's Upside?
Upside is the free cashback app that gets you real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, I can get cash back just for buying the gas I need anyway?
Yes, I use it all the time, and I've made around $200. Now pull over so you can download the Upside app before we miss the concert.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code LIFE to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank, PayPal, or as a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code LIFE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code LIFE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code LIFE.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot doot, and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Did you know that 70% of divorces are filed by women? She's already thinking about it. I urge you, do not get caught off guard. I'm Gary Barton, owner of Barton & Associates, attorneys at law. Divorce is tough. It's emotional, challenging, and can upend everything you've worked hard for. But here's the truth. You have a choice. You can either let your spouse dictate the terms, or you can take control and protect your financial future. At Barton & Associates, this isn't just about getting through the process. It's about protecting what you've built, securing your assets, and ensuring you have the resources to move forward with confidence. You've worked hard for everything you have, and we're here to help safeguard it and avoid unnecessary losses. If you're serious about protecting yourself through the divorce process and securing your future, Barton & Associates is the team you need by your side. Call 210-500-0000. That's 210-5-million. Or visit TexasDivorce.com. That's TexasDivorce.com.
Principal Office, San Antonio.
It's The Blitz with Jason and Joe on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
You're watching on YouTube. Appreciate that. You can always subscribe to the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel. Comment there. A lot of interesting comments on a pretty remarkable day in the history of sports in the great city of San Antonio. The announcement making it official that Greg Popovich stepping down as head coach. He will remain as president of basketball operations. That is something that Ryan Eagle and I have been predicting or suggesting is the best thing for the organization moving forward. Even though, Pop said in his statement today, he loves the coach, loves the idea. I mean, you think about, the statement from Greg Popovich, the quote in the announcement, "While my love and passion for the game remain, I've decided it's time to step away as head coach. I'm forever grateful to the wonderful players, coaches, staff, and fans who allowed me to serve them as the Spurs head coach, and I'm excited for the opportunity to continue to support the organization, community, and city that are so meaningful to me." And, the reality is, I don't know that we'll ever see a head coach have the kind of run that we saw Greg Popovich have. And 76 years old, health issues, just the idea of the day-to-day grind of being a head coach in the NBA, you just wonder, stroke or no stroke, at some point, it just kind of gets to you, right? So this should be a day to celebrate the Hall of Fame career of Greg Popovich, and we will do that. And it's going to be a balancing act because immediately they announce Mitch Johnson as the head coach. And most people aren't overly excited about the hire of Mitch Johnson. Now, Wemby apparently is. Some of those players are. And you look at the organization, a lot of belief in Mitch Johnson. He's been around this organization for a decade. He was handpicked to be the interim head coach in November. Rookie head coach, yes, officially, but he does have, little OJT this year as the interim head coach. By the way, those wins and losses technically go on Greg Popovich's record, not Mitch Johnson. It's a little quirk in the rule department with the NBA, I suppose. But it is interesting, and I'm not excited about the hire, except for I'm happy for Mitch. I don't know Mitch, but I'm happy for him. He's getting this opportunity. But when you think about the other potential candidates out there who could have had this job, I mean, that's part of dealing with the San Antonio Spurs, Fort Knox, if you will. You talk to people that you think would know. 3 people, 3 very different answers. You hear rumblings about this guy. You hear rumblings about that guy. Manu? Sure. Why? I mean, you hear all kinds of things. Would it be Becky? Would it, Mike Malone? I mean, and there's big names out there. Just because they're big names, we want them to go talk to them. We know what those guys can do. We've seen what kind of coaches they are. It feels like they settled for comfort food. Mitch has been there. They like Mitch, and everything stays the same. And maybe that factored into it. At the same time, I still want to celebrate the incredible career of Greg Popovich. You think about all the different years, interviews, every reporter in town that has been, quote unquote, popped. And all of us, you can't find a reporter that hasn't gotten those comments. And sure, he was gruff and kind of, mean in some of those interviews. But the other side of Greg Popovich, some of the charity events, there used to be this celebrity waiter kind of deal that I was a part of that, Pop and the Spurs were always a part of. And you see Pop in those kind of settings, and he is a completely different guy. Those that know him well. And it's crazy. I've covered this man since he took over as head coach. I can't say that I know him well in those regards. We've been doing this show for 17 years. He's never come on. Part of that, and it's not like he goes on over there, not like he goes on a lot of national shows. I mean, that's just not what he likes to do. But when you hear the different stories about Pop, conversations, deep thought, everything about him, Peter J. Holt, in his quote in today's statement, maybe sums it up perfectly. He is truly one-on-one as a person, leader, and coach. And Pop is one of one. But he grew into that. I mean, let's go back, and if you got memories of Pop you want to share, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. You know, I've been doing this show for 17 years, but I've been doing sports talk since the late 90s in this town. And fans were not at all happy when he fired Bob Hill. They were not at all happy when he fired Bob Hill and made himself head coach. They won the title. It didn't matter. People still weren't sold on Greg Popovich. It was probably 2 titles in before we started to get in Pop we trust as opposed to fire Pop, right? I mean, think about it. The first championship, the second championship, I mean, Pledge is telling me that was the third. I mean, but somewhere along the way, I mean, you got damn near 30 years of this guy being the coach. I mean, think about, we often talk about the drought of the Cowboys in Super Bowls. Pop's been the head coach the entire time of that drought. You know, my child is 26. The only coach that's ever been the coach of the Spurs has been Greg Popovich. You know, and, you know, my joke about her, she's 26. In her lifetime, the Spurs have won 5 titles, and the Cowboys haven't won 5 playoff games, let alone go to a Super Bowl. It is pretty crazy when you think about the longevity. And while most of us expected this, because it feels like the right thing to do, we understand life. Anybody that's been around a person that has suffered a stroke, especially one that's mid-70s, the idea of coming back, I think most of us realized a long time ago, it probably isn't going to happen. Now, I will say, and I know I've talked about this before as we've discussed it, the idea of him coming back around the All-Star break when those rumors are out there, mild stroke. My wife is a nurse and, you know, recently was working in a neuro ward. She's like, well, I mean, depending on where it was in the brain, all kinds of different things, maybe he can come back. And maybe if Wemby didn't have the blood clot, who knows? But but then you see what happened at the restaurant, and this is for Pop. Go live life. But the grind of being a part of an NBA team, and the travel and everything, I think we all expected this. Yet it's still a gut punch when you actually read it. And holy crap, this happened. Here we go. And I've been saying for weeks, we need to know. Early May 1, all right, May 2nd. And the way everything unfolded, this wasn't just decided over the last couple of days. And I truly do believe when you look at a sequence of events, this decision has been made not only for Pop not to continue, but Mitch to be the head coach. This is, and I don't know this is a fact, I'm just guessing. This decision was made a couple of weeks ago. Let's get all the stuff. Oh, Rookie of the Year. Okay, when are they going to announce it? We're going to do that. And then we will make the Pop announcement when you can essentially say the Spurs season is now officially over. There's no other award to be won. There's no other press conference to happen. So I do think, knowing that they just had the Rookie of the Year press conference, all right, get that done, because you don't want to overshadow Steph Castle. And that's a typical Spurs thing to do. And it's a Friday news dump. It's Battle of Flowers. Everyone's off. Sure. Although if it were a true Friday news dump, they would have done it at 4:30, not at 11 a.m. when they sent that email. Let's talk about it. Don Harris from News 4. will join us next here on The Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
If you travel as much as the San Antonio sports guys travel, while you're on the road, be sure to take us along. Listen to the 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star live stream anywhere on the Odyssey radio app.
When it comes to vaccines, it's important to get the facts. The City of San Antonio Metropolitan Health District understands that keeping your child safe is your top priority. Vaccines are safe and can help your child's immune system fight harmful germs. They protect against serious diseases and can even save lives. Because when it comes to your child's health, it's time to get real about vaccines and get the facts. Learn more at sa.gov/health. sa.gov/health.
As a fan, you know all the important sports cliches. And when you save money by bundling your home and auto with Progressive, you can get out there and give it 110%, even though that's mathematically impossible. And remember, failure is not an option. Well, it's always an option, just not a good one. But you're not worried because you've got ice in your veins. You're on fire. How can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, that's between you and your doctor. So get out there and leave it all on the field. Leave what? Who cares? Just leave it and save with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
You know the Roo Pub is proven to be the best place to watch games with those 3 massive 170-inch screens and TVs all around. All the games, all the fights, and when you show up at the Roo Pub, show up hungry. The food is fantastic. Open daily at 11. Great for lunch, great for dinner, great for late at night, and the best place to watch a game. Just down from the big blind, right next to the Angry Elephant. The Roo Pub, 281 in Redland Road. We'll see you at the Roo.
At the Institute for Functional Health, we are dedicated to helping you live life fully, playing with your kids, golfing, and feeling great without relying on pills. We're not about treating symptoms temporarily. We're about extending your health span, the years you live in good health. I'm Dr. Torres, and for over a decade, my team has transformed lives by tackling health issues at the root. Tired of medications without real answers? Take control of your health with us. Call 210-468-1891 for a free Discovery Day consultation or visit iffhealth.com. Improve your health span today.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with a Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Joe Reinagel has the day off. I'm Jason Minix. Maybe one of the, if not the biggest, sports story in the history of San Antonio. Greg Popovich stepping down as head coach, will remain as president of basketball operations. Let's talk about it with Don Harris from News 4. Probably with your longevity, I don't know anybody else covering sports in this town longer than you, Don, and certainly throughout the entirety of the career of Greg Popovich with the Spurs organization. Not surprising news, yet still kind of stunning to actually read it and make it, and it's made official.
First of all, Jason, Joe Reinagel has the day off. So did I until about 11 o'clock this morning.
Wait, you're going to work on a Friday?
Of course. We're like firemen, man. We got to go in. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Go enjoy the day.
Yeah, I know you're. Did you actually go in, or you just?
No, I'm in.
Oh, you're in.
I'm in.
You're in.
I'm in all day. I was on the noon show with David Chancellor. I'll be doing the 5, 6, and 10. Yeah, this is one of those things that requires a little, different commitment and perspective. You talked about me being around a long time. I'll give you a funny story. Before I was ever an employee at Channel 4, in the summer of 1989, I got a gig making about $100 a week coaching at Spurs basketball youth camp. And because my brother-in-law was Alvin Gentry, and he was a young assistant with Larry Brown, as was Pop. I got to know Pop that summer. And then Pop hired me to coach a bunch of kids, like 12 kids at a camp in New Braunfels. He had his own side camp, the Greg Popovich basketball camp. So I go back with Pop before I even started at Channel 4 and well before he was a head coach. And so I've known the man 35 years, and I've always said I would be surprised when he stopped coaching. And I must say I'm not shocked because of the recent health scares, but I am surprised to even consider a Spurs basketball team with him not on the sidelines. It's going to be strange.
The longevity, and I don't know that we'll see another coach in pro sports goes 29 years, but and I do think this was the right decision for the organization. The grind of coaching in the NBA with what he's dealt with, especially at his age. President of basketball operations, I love the fact that, he's not heading off to who knows where, and, he'll still be a part of the team, the organization, the community. His fingerprints are all over it, yet not being coach, it is going to be weird.
Yeah, and, he's been the president of basketball operations for however many years now, 30, 29. He's always been the decision maker. Even when R.C. Buford was GM and Brian Wright is GM, everybody has their titles, but when the rubber has to hit the road, it's Pop who makes the call. And so that won't change. To know him, right, because you just said this is the right call for the organization at his age to be through it. Yeah, right. We all agree with that. But to know him, he thought no problem. I'll be back, right? And this will be a month or so, and I'll get back. And he was working hard towards that. He's still working hard to becoming 100%. And I don't know. I think it was a one-off when he fainted recently. But I think that might have been the tipping point for him to know, okay, something like this is possible to happen. It is a grind to fly. It is a grind to do all of that. And it's best to put the team first. I still think he wants to do it. I still think he always thought he would return. But I think at some point, even though we all knew that this might be inevitable, the decision had to be his. And I'm glad it was, and I'm glad that he was allowed to make it.
Don Harris from News 4 joining us here on The Blitz. Don, I feel like this was a decision that was probably made more than a week ago, not only for Pop to step down as head coach, but for Mitch to be the permanent coach. I think they probably waited till after the Steph Council Rookie of the Year announcement, close a book on that chapter and not overshadow anything. But I find it interesting, the announcement from Pop and then almost immediately the announcement about Mitch. We don't really get an opportunity to celebrate Pop's coaching career the way when I first saw it, I was thinking, okay, well, this is how the show is going to go. Then the Mitch news becomes official, and the negativity surrounding the hire of Mitch Johnson on social media, on our YouTube chat right now is pretty incredible. Take me through what you're hearing about the lack of a coaching search, basically just, all right, interim, you're out, Mitch, you're in.
Well, I think this was a decision that may have been made a long, long time ago as far as the successor. Not that it happened today or when it would happen with Pop. But I think when we all said Steve Kerr, Mike Brown, Taylor Jenkins, Mike Budenholzer, Will Hardy, Ime Udoka, anybody that's ever been in the coaching tree, when we all said that, I don't know that that was the feeling inside the building with Peter John Holt, R.C. Buford, Greg Popovich, and Brian Wright. And most importantly, Victor Wembanyama. And so the rest of us can say, man, this is the Spurs. This is the Spurs. This is Victor Wembanyama. The only man for this job is Steve Kerr, right? The very best of the best, the proven commodity. Eric Spoelstra, maybe, right? But something like that. That may be fine speculation from the outside, but I will tell you this. Inside that building, Mitch Johnson is their guy. He's Stanford smart. They think he's incredible with the younger generation. Pop leaned on him tremendously over the last few years. When Tim Duncan and Becky Hammond were on that bench, Mitch Johnson was the guy that was raising everybody's eyebrows inside that building. And so, again, he may not be your choice, my choice, a fan's choice, but the only thing that matters, and this is what I would tell fans who are being negative, if you learned that call was made by Victor Wembanyama, would you still be mad? Because essentially it has to be, right? So Pop going to make the decision. Pop, as always, is going to use the voices around him as a great buffer and hear all sides and take the views of RC, Brian, and everybody else in that building on what they think about Mitch. And at the end of the day, Pop sits down with Wemby and says, what do you think? And if Wemby is really comfortable with Mitch Johnson, then the Spurs are going to go with Mitch. Because at the end of the day, the one guy that you have to please isn't Peter John Holt, and it isn't Greg Popovich. It's not Brian Wright, and it's not R.C. Buford. It's Victor Wembanyama. And he may not be, LeBron as far as like meddling with decision makings and getting coaches fired and being closet GM. I think Wemby's taken a more hands-off approach as I trust the organization. But at the same time, when you play for a guy and you build relationships, and De'Aaron Fox and all these other guys really got Mitch's stamp of approval. Also, Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. So I think because he's so loved inside the building, it's a comfortable move that somebody Wemby's comfortable with. And I think as a Spurs fan, you got to say, if Wemby's comfortable with him, then I got to be.
And I think we'll all adapt. Let's go back when Pop fired Bob Hill. Nobody was thrilled with that, and he won titles, and we were still saying fire Pop if they lost 2 or 3. I think it was 2 or 3 titles before it became in Pop we trust, although I think because there are so many incredible candidates available that you didn't even interview them, I think it's a little surprise, maybe a letdown for Spurs fans, because the idea of getting championships back, a coach that will attract free agents. Can Mitch Johnson do that? What is his reputation around the league from what you hear?
Again, he is very well thought of. He is very smart. He's 38 years old. He's got a degree from Stanford, and he's been in the Spurs system for a long time.
10 years.
He's very well respected. He's very well respected around the league. But again, when Pop fired Bob Hill and everybody was screaming and yelling about it, you know who wasn't? You know who wanted Bob Hill fired? Avery Johnson, Sean Elliott, David Robinson.
Yep.
It was done inside because it was the right move for the organization. And look, we all think we know sports, right? I think I know sports. I learned more about the NBA when my son was working for the New Orleans Pelicans in my 50s. I learned this. I didn't know anything about the NBA once I knew what he knew, right? So we think we know, we don't know. It's like Jason, it's like a radio remote, right? Fans might think what you do is you show up and you talk on the radio, or I show up and talk on TV. They don't know the details of putting together the rundown, the production meetings, the graphics programs that we have to use to type in names, the editing that we have to do of video and or audio that you have to do, how the cart machine works. All of those are obsolete. Yeah. Whatever. There's intricacies to what every job is. And sports is the one where the fan thinks they know because they played high school basketball or whatever, or there's so many talking heads about it. And I love sports for that reason. But the truth is, we don't know. We don't know. That's why I say, if Wemby's good with it and Pop's good with it, I'm smart enough to say if they're good with it, I'm good with it because they know more than me.
Well, and I'm totally agree with that as we visit with Don Harris here from News 4. And look, if you're a superstar player, I know some people, if it's LeBron, they're going to bag on that, right? But it happens in every league. Superstars, they get superstar treatment for a reason. As fans, you want to keep him. If you piss him off when his contract's up or he could force a trade, we all know how that goes. My biggest concern is I watched this guy coach for the majority of last season. And even when Wemby was healthy, this still wasn't a good basketball team. And there were times that I felt like he was in way over his head. Now, a little on-the-job training that he got this year certainly will help him moving forward into next season. How much, apparently it didn't, but how much of that factored in the evaluation process? Because I'm looking at that saying I don't think he's ready, but clearly the organization does.
Yeah, and I don't think you're wrong in your assessment. I think there were times last year where I was critical of some of the moves that he made with rotations. I thought early on in the season that Steph Castle should have been playing a lot more than he was. That was one aspect of it. There were other times where I thought Chris Paul was on the floor too long, where he wasn't playing well, didn't need to be on the court. But Paul proved us all wrong later in the season when he really came on and played great. There were rotations, there were matchups, there were issues. There was also at some point strategic tanking.
Yes.
Going on. And so I think there was on-the-job training. And look, I don't think he's a finished product by any means. But I think you have to factor in a few factors, and that is the comfortability with Wemby and the other players with Mitch, the interviewing of a Taylor Jenkins or a Mike Brown or anybody else that the Spurs would consider. I think they know exactly who these guys are, having been probably worked in this organization before. I don't think anybody outside the organization would have been considered because you have to understand the Spurs culture. And so I think they knew what they had, they knew what was available, and they knew how it fit with the current young core that's only going to get younger in this draft. And remember, when a Con Kneppel or somebody comes into this draft, a rookie comes in, Mitch Johnson isn't some 38-year-old rookie coach. Mitch Johnson's an old guy who's been in the NBA a long time from his perspective. So again, time will tell. And if once expectations come, and they trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they're supposed to start winning championships, and next year they are up 3-1 in a series and collapse, and J.J. Redick makes Mitch Johnson look great, then he's going to get all kinds of criticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or he doesn't, or he wins, and he grows, and that's what they're banking on.
All right, Don, you brought up Giannis. And the timing of the announcement today, I think, is perfect. We've been saying it on the Blitz for the last couple of weeks. Well, organization, whether we know or not, but the organization has to know before we get into this very important offseason. 2 lottery picks. We'll find out where those are in a couple of weeks. Free agency, trades, all the picks they have available to them, all that currency. What kind of offseason movement do you expect to see out of the Spurs?
What I expect to see from the Spurs is the Oklahoma City model. I don't expect them to trade for Giannis. I expect them to continue to build through the draft. I continue to see them take advantage of great opportunities if they present themselves like De'Aaron Fox did without giving up too much capital. I don't see Giannis here because of his age and his cost. Could it happen? Sure. If Wemby says that's what he wants to win now, and he wants Giannis, they'll move heaven and earth to make it happen. I don't think Wemby's that opinionated about it, and I think he's still patient in growing this another couple of years. But if they get Giannis in a package that doesn't include Steph Castle or Wemby or De'Aaron Fox, but does include some other players and picks, then maybe they consider it. But they're going to have to pay Fox this summer. They're going to have to pay Wemby the highest salary in the history of the NBA in a few years. And Giannis still has he's not young, he's not old, but he might be a little too old for their window. I don't know. I'm open for it either way. I can see where it would work, and they could win right away. I can also see you play the patient game and win more over the long haul.
Can they afford to be patient? As a fan, it's been 7 years. My patience is running thin as far as not being in the playoffs and competing for championships. And like every other Spur fan listening right now, we've all been so spoiled this drought. I'm ready for it to be over. I'm tired of skipping steps. And they're trying to build a new arena. They got to win, right? I mean, it's a lot easier to get that yes vote if you're winning.
Yeah, I agree. And it's time, right? But don't you think, or do you think, that Wemby, Castle, Fox team roster healthy going into next year is a 50-win team?
Yeah, I honestly, when they made the move for De'Aaron Fox this year, said on this show, that to me was the difference between them being a play-in team and an actual playoff team. Obviously, a couple games later, we find out about blood clots and all bets are off. But I think the addition of De'Aaron Fox makes this team that much better. And then, depending on what they end up getting in the draft, they should be a playoff team next year.
I think so. Like, look at the Oklahoma City model. Look what they did. They were like 20 wins, 22 wins, and then it was like, boom, 47 and 60. And so I think this is the year that you got to be at that 47, right? You got to get in the next year has to be a significant jump. I don't think it's a championship jump because OKC, Houston, the West is still really good. But I do think with this roster as is, without a major blockbuster, it's got to be a 50-win, 48-win team that is a 5 seed. Now, if you get Giannis and you keep those other guys, Castle, Wemby, and Fox, then you start saying immediate championship contenders. It just depends on whether or not they want to play the long game or the short game. And those cap guys are a lot smarter than me when it comes to the money and what you want to commit and how long. I thought Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes were genius signings because it wasn't going to cost you anything down the road. You had to fill those gaps anyway, and they did. But with those two guys coming off the books after next year, Harrison's still on one more. But it depends on how much money you have to play for and how much you want to go for it with Giannis. And again, if Wemby's pushing your hand to do it now. If he's pushing your hand, you have to do it now. But if he's playing the patient game, which is what he talks, then maybe you don't have to do it.
Very true. Now, Don Harris, Giannis is the buzzword this week. A couple weeks ago, there was ideas of Kevin Durant coming to San Antonio. Do you think there'll be a veteran like that Mitch Johnson will be able to recruit over to the Spurs?
Well, look, Wemby's recruiting everybody. No one wants to come play for Mitch Johnson. No one wants to come even if it was Pop. They weren't going to come to play for Pop. They're coming to play next to Wemby. Everybody wants to play next to Wemby. As much as Chris Paul respects and loves Pop, he didn't come here because of Pop. He came here because, dude, I want to be on the front end of this dude's career. And so, if everybody in the league, the Spurs is a destination team. They never were before. They are now. There's not a player in the league that doesn't want to play with Wemby. And so, yes, recruiting will be just fine if that's what they want to do. But again, the Spurs are different in that it's got to be a culture fit. They're not going to bring in a Kevin Durant or some sort of malcontent at all that would taint a young Wemby's view of league life or culture. They're not going to expose Wemby to a Steven Jackson who would come in and back in the day, or somebody that would taint or spoil or anything to spoil the kid or to show the kid the negative sides of leagues and teams bad cultures that don't get along. I didn't see the Durant thing happening. nothing against Kevin Durant. I love Kevin Durant. I think he's a good guy. I think he'd make the team better. But I think, again, it's age and it's cost. And those guys are a little long in the tooth. Now, Devin Booker, different story. A little younger,
Although I don't see Book leaving Phoenix. On what is an historic day in San Antonio, because Don Harris is actually working on a Friday, talking about Pop. Two historical milestones in our city's sports history, Don.
What are the stories that have to bring me in on a Friday? What else would bring me in on a Friday?
There's not much. Jerry selling the team, maybe. Even then, you wouldn't come in on a Friday. This is it. This would be the one thing. You should send a strongly worded email to Pop. Dude, you ruined my Friday. I mean, you broke a streak.
Here's the deal. My 34th wedding anniversary is this weekend. And my wife and I had big plans with Craig Miller, who's coming into town, and we were having dinner with them tonight. And it took me back to early in my marriage when the kids were loaded up in the back of the Yukon, and we were driving down to South Padre. We had literally packed the car. It was in the garage. We were backing out when I got a call that the Cowboys had fired Jimmy Johnson and we're going to hire Barry Switzer. And they said, I need you on a plane to Dallas in an hour. And my wife and kids cried because we weren't going to Padre. And it was going to be delayed for a couple of days. My wife didn't cry this time, but I got that look that I may not be celebrating our 35th anniversary.
You will. She understands what she signed up for. And look, you've got probably about a 17-year streak of no Fridays.
That's not true. I worked the Final Four Friday.
No, I didn't see you down. Did you work on Friday? Because I didn't see you. Nah. Did you?
Yeah. I did the 5 and 6 outside on the platform outside of the Alamo Dome.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. You know, I got to give you some crap because it's Friday and you're working.
Hey, I'm working this, and where's Joe? Got drinking something.
Oh, he is. He's playing in a 2 or 3 day golf tournament.
Come on, Joe. Breaking news.
Yeah. I don't think he would be in any shape to come to work when he found out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I got it.
Good stuff. Don, always appreciate it, man. Good stuff. Don Harris from News 4. We're reacting all day to the announcement. Greg Popovich stepping down as head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, staying on as team president. Mitch Johnson has been named the new head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. You want to react? Dial us up, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. If you're watching on YouTube, you can always comment there. Subscribe to the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel.
Taking you home with the Blitz. Afternoons 2 to 6, KTFM Floresville. And everywhere at sasportstar.com.
The John Clay Wolf Show. Here's what's going on in the Wolf Pack.
How's your financial situation?
I've been working at Quiznos.
Really?
Really?
Are they open still?
No. Really good sandwich, baby.
Yeah, they were when they were open.
Hey!
Being in a musical with you, man. Every word is a song.
Yeah. Schlotzky's is a bunch of bitches.
The John Clay Wolf Show.
Catch the John Clay Wolf Show Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon right here on San Antonio Sports Star.
When you switch to Progressive and bundle your home and auto, you could save hundreds, and that's a surprising amount of money.
Whoa, that's like farmer's market money.
That's like give me a gallon of that locally sourced raw honey money.
That's certified organic heirloom tomatoes in every imaginable color except red money.
That's let's get 2 pounds of pink oyster mushrooms money. I'm not even sure I like pink oyster mushrooms.
Guess it's time to find out, because you could save hundreds when you switch to Progressive and bundle. Then the world is your pink oyster mushroom. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-371-0505. 800-371-0505.
I'm at
the movies. Asking people if they'll switch seats with me for $574.
Here, take mine.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
Too much work.
Not if you call them. They handle the switching.
Now, that's a plot twist.
Shh. Check Allstate first, and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Made in America, highest quality. That's Connecticut Quality Water Softeners. There's a reason Dave Ramsey says a Connecticut is a wise investment for your home.
Trust me, Connecticut water systems are the best of the best. I personally have one in my home. All those other water softener systems out there are junk in comparison. Connecticut uses less water and runs on kinetic energy.
So there's no computer to break, fewer moving parts, and it works only when you need it.
It was even voted most efficient water softener in the world by the Water Quality Association.
For a limited time, receive a free reverse osmosis drinking station at your kitchen sink, $400 off with trade-in, and 0% interest for 12 months with approved credit. Call Connecticut of San Antonio and the Hill Country, 210-656-PURE.
Check them out at ConnecticutSA.com and tell them Dave Ramsey sent you.
License number 38961.
ConnecticutSA.com.
The San Antonio Spurs announced today that Greg Popovich will be transitioning from head coach to president of basketball operations. In his 29 years at the helm, Pop has the most regular season wins in NBA history and led the Spurs to 5 NBA championships and led Team USA to a gold medal. Pop, who suffered a stroke earlier this season, said in a statement, "While his love and passion for the game remain, he's decided it's time to step away." It's been announced that interim head coach Mitch Johnson will succeed Pop as the next head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. I'm James Pledger for San Antonio Sports Star.
Sports Center is brought to you by Buyers Barricades, the Texas authority in barricade rental. BuyersBarricades.com.
Joe Reinagel.
That's the third time in 7 seasons the San Antonio Spurs are the NBA champions.
Jason Minix.
They go back to big day as Super Bowl champions. Dallas 52, Buffalo 17.
It's the Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Joe Reinagel has the day off. I'm Jason Minix. Glad to have you along on this Friday afternoon, a stunning Friday at that. One of the biggest sports stories in the history of our city. The official announcement that Greg Popovich is no longer the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. Not a surprise, yet still stunning. We've all talked about that. We've been talking about it here on the Blitz for weeks. This is what needs to happen. And everything we talked about, what we thought needed to happen, step down as head coach, just be president of basketball operations. That's exactly what they announced today. Yet it's still stunning to think that Pop won't be on that bench at the start of the next NBA season. And then it's stunning that they announce Mitch Johnson as the new head coach of the Spurs. Mitch Johnson replacing Greg Popovich. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 if you want to react. And Spurs do these kind of things by design because of the Mitch Johnson news, there's negativity there as opposed to celebrating the Hall of Fame career of the winningest basketball coach, our coach, a piece of the fabric of the San Antonio community. And so I'm going to try to balance both throughout the rest of the Blitz because, and again, Mitch was not the guy that I wanted, but he's apparently the guy that Wemby wanted. Chris Rackley tweets in at Jason Minix, why does it feel like Mitch is the new coach because he's a yes man to Pop? See, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Pop is the final decision maker. He'll still be the final decision maker. But when you talk to people that are within that organization, it's a collective effort. It is very much a collective effort. Tough decisions have to be made. Pop makes it. But I don't know that I would call Mitch Johnson a yes man in that regards. Now, I don't know Mitch. But what I know about that organization and the way they do things, no, I don't know that I would say that is why. You know, there is a reason Mitch Johnson was named the interim coach. When you've got a former head coach as an assistant that could have taken over when Pop had the stroke. But they chose Mitch. Talking to Don Harris earlier from News 4, this might have been the plan a couple years ago. Whenever Pop decides to retire, it would go to Mitch. For a lot of years, we thought it was going to be Coach Bud until he, went off and took other jobs. So maybe this was the plan all along, but the stroke speeded up a timeline. I don't know. But it is the idea that Mitch gets his first head coaching job and the reaction is negative. Now, you watch NBA Twitter today, Memphis has made their new coach official. They took the interim tag off of their guy. I don't even want to try to pronounce his name. And you know what? In Memphis, they don't seem happy either. Because there's a Mike Malone available. There's a Taylor Jenkins available. The idea of Steve Kerr coming here. All of that. It's rather bizarre. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Hey, Gary, you're on the Blitz, man. Appreciate your patience.
Oh, no problem. Okay, first thing I want to say is I think there's a reason why those other coaches are available. You know what I'm saying? They're so great. I don't think they would be available. Why is Mike Malone not coaching the best player in the NBA in Jokic? There's a reason. So, but I'm not going to, go off on a tangent on that. I think that when they chose Mike Johnson, I think they were, Mitch Johnson, they were planning for that because the thing that he has going for him is he's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. You're going to bring in somebody and you don't know what they're going to do. Now, I look at how well did Pop actually do the last 2 years when he was coaching the Spurs. It wasn't that good. It was giving me migraines, seeing them, just cave in the fourth quarter. And I think the way they can go about fixing that, it's pretty easy to figure out. They need a few more players. And I think the best thing that they did was, especially, Paul was good, but Harrison, boy, that guy, man, I'm so glad that they brought him here. Great for the community, fantastic on the floor. But I think if we can improve our defense, specifically in the fourth quarter, and keep some guys healthy, I mean, I really believe that the Spurs are going to be in the playoffs next year, and who knows what's going to happen after that.
You know,
so I'm going to leave it
if they stay healthy, Gary, they will be a playoff team next year. They've got a great foundation when you look at Wemby, Fox, what Steph Castle is turning into. They've got 2 lottery picks this year, whatever trade they might make. I fully expect a playoff team next year. You know, mid to high 40 wins, maybe even a 50-win season next year. The expectations going into next year are going to be extremely high. The confidence level, though, of the initial reaction that Mitch Johnson is going to be able to do that doesn't seem overly high. Now, granted, you're talking about fourth quarter collapses. That's also tanking. There's decisions made not to win games to get into the lottery. Time check. It's 3:11. Maybe. Well produced. Good job, Pledge. We've got tickets to go see 3:11 at the 713 Music Hall down in Houston next Friday. You want to go? Be caller number 11 right now. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Caller 11. You're going to go see 311 down in Houston next Friday. If you don't win the tickets, you can always buy them at livenation.com. More on the Popovich retirement, although they didn't actually use the word retire, the transition from head coach to just president of basketball operations coming up. Your calls, and Mike Finger from the Express News will join us at 3:35 here on the Blitz on San Antonio Sports Star's YouTube page and, of course, 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
If you travel as much as the San Antonio sports guys travel, while you're on the road, be sure to take us along. Listen to the 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star live stream anywhere on the Odyssey radio app.
I want to talk a little bit about Stevens Roofing. I love talking about Stevens Roofing, my favorite company in San Antonio. They're a family-owned, local company, locally based, that's for sure. And the good news about that is you'll always be able to get a hold of them. They do some work for you. You've got a question or a problem, you call them, they'll come out and they'll fix it. A lot of these companies are not based in San Antonio, and you call them, it's going to take 3 weeks for them to get anything done. That's not the case with Stevens Roofing. And I tell you what, this time of year in San Antonio and South Texas, it can be kind of dicey, can it? With thunderstorms popping up, rolling in. We've been threatened with rain, it seems like, for the last 2 weeks. You want to make sure your roof is safe, it's up to par, it can handle whatever Mother Nature has to throw at it. Well, Stevens Roofing can help you do that. They know the kind of weather that we deal with because they live here. But if you call Stevens Roofing at 210-785-0994, they're going to send a crew out to your house. They'll give you a free, no-obligation roof inspection. That's a good thing because they'll let you know, hey, your roof is in pretty bad shape. You could probably use a new one. Or there's a little piece over there in the corner that needs a repair. We can handle that for you. Or they might just say, you know what, your roof is in great shape. Hope you have a nice day. Either way, it's all going to give you the peace of mind that you need and that you want when those storms come rolling in. Stevens Roofing, the absolute best in the business, been in business in San Antonio, South Texas for a long, long time, and they are not going anywhere. You can trust Stevens Roofing, so why don't you give them a call? 210-785-0994.
When it comes to vaccines, it's important to get the facts. The City of San Antonio Metropolitan Health District understands that keeping your child safe is your top priority. Vaccines are safe and can help your child's immune system fight harmful germs. They protect against serious diseases and can even save lives. Because when it comes to your child's health, it's time to get real about vaccines and get the facts. Learn more at sa.gov/health. sa.gov/health.
Hey, San Antonio, multiple tours overseas, years of protecting the country, it all adds up at University of Maryland Global Campus. Earn up to 90 credits for prior learning, military experience, and training toward our low-cost degree and certificate programs. We call that credit where credit is due. For over 75 years, our dedicated success coaches have been helping service members achieve their goals. Get started with local support and online and hybrid courses right here in San Antonio. Visit UMGC at San Antonio or umgc.edu/SATX.
If you've been injured in an accident, you know there's no shortage of attorneys who want your business. But when it comes to results, the numbers speak for themselves. Thomas J. Henry secured over $1 billion for clients in the past 4 years. We've successfully represented thousands of injured Texans, earning over 12,000 five-star reviews on Google. So, who is the right attorney for you? Just look at the numbers. Thomas J. Henry, the name you know, the firm you trust. San Antonio, Texas.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Listen to 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star on your Amazon or Google smart speaker and just say, Alexa, play 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
I want some nasty.
There you go. It is the Blitz on at 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. If you're watching on YouTube, appreciate it. You can always find us on YouTube. Just search the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel. Hit the thumbs up button. You can comment in there. There's a whole side conversation going on there now. I don't even want to get into it. It's crazy. Mike Finger will join us in about 15 minutes from the Express News. The idea that Greg Popovich is not going to be the head coach. Again, I think most of us anticipated this. Most of us prepared for this moment. Yet when you read it in writing, and it's official, it hits you a little bit different. I mean, Greg Popovich has been a part of our lives for 30 years. When you think about coaching longevity, I mean, Tom Landry, Bill Belichick. It's going to be weird to see Belichick on a different sideline. And I know he's been in the news for a lot of weird stuff lately, but, the idea of somebody staying in a job that long, Steeler coaches, Don Shula, I mean, Eric Spoelstra, I think now is the longest tenured coach, right? Steve Kerr is probably pretty close up there. I mean, you get impatient owners in today's world, right? I mean, Phoenix hires a coach and fires him every year, whether they won titles or not, right? I mean, you're talking about championship coaches. Mike Malone won a championship, and he gets fired before the end of this season. The organization is different here in San Antonio, and I think that probably was one of the main factors in just keeping everything smooth with, all right, Mitch, you're it. They didn't do a interview process that anybody's aware of. I don't know that they talked to Malone, if they talked to Taylor Jenkins, if they talked to Steve Kerr, Becky Hammon, you name it. I just retweeted something. You can see it there on my Twitter, at Jason Minix. It's from Sports Illustrated, at SI Now. The Greg Popovich coaching legacy is legendary. And, honestly, that tree is more of a forest. It's bigger than that. I mean, when you, it's just incredible. And you knew the Spurs would more than likely go with somebody that had some sort of ties to the organization or to Greg Popovich, because you have to understand how things work. And you also understand that Pop is still going to be the president of basketball operations. So, final say. He's your boss now. So many comments. The excitement level for Mitch Johnson isn't there. And I'm in that boat. Mitch is probably going to be a great coach in the NBA one day. Is it today? Young head coaches make mistakes. He's going to have to learn from them. J.J. Redick could certainly tell you that. And if you ask J.J., he is the smartest guy in the room. But we know Mitch Johnson is a smart guy. And he's one that Pop has leaned on over the last couple of years. He was the one that Pop put the interim tag on when he had the stroke. That was an organizational decision that was probably made. You know how you go through all the what-if scenarios? The Spurs do that. That was the plan. Their new TV announcer, Jacob Toby, who wraps up his rookie season, posted a video on his Instagram page when he actually got to sit down and do an interview with Pop, which is rare. Pop doesn't do a lot of interviews with anybody, but he did when Jacob first got here. And the advice that Pop gave Jacob Toby, you got to believe, is the exact same advice he is going to give to Mitch Johnson.
Any advice for me?
I think you just be who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. And if that's not good enough for him, screw him.
Screw him.
Screw him. And you know damn well that's probably what Pop has told Mitch while he was the interim coach. And now that he's the head coach, you can't be me. Don't try to be me. Pop's telling Jacob Toby, don't be Bill Land. You're not Bill Land. And people are probably at the beginning not going to like you because you're different. And over the season, a lot of people became fans of Jacob Toby. Over the course of next season, Spurs are winning games. You get to win 40, you get to win 45, you get to win 50, a lock in the 5th seed or the 4th seed. All of a sudden, Mitch Johnson, right guy for the job. And as a Spurs fan, I hope that's what happens, because I can say I'm not overly excited ultimately with the hire today. Those are such massive shoes to fill that with this roster, I wanted a more veteran coach. But you look around the league, J.J. Redick, he's taken over a roster with LeBron. He's friends with LeBron. LeBron may have handpicked him, right? Wemby had a lot of influence in this decision. Mitch was his shooting coach when he first got here. Last year, when Mitch took over as interim coach, his pregame routine with Wemby stayed in. Head coaches don't do that kind of stuff. Mitch did, because it was Wemby. I don't know if that makes it any better for you, but at least you got to look at all the facts. You look at replacing Greg Popovich and what Mitch can learn from Greg Popovich. Good friend of the show, Antonio Daniels, on his Sirius XM show, talked about why Pop is the greatest coach of all time.
He saw who guys were, recognized their potential, and then put them in a position to be successful with what they did best, along with, and this is why I say he's the greatest coach of all time, having a true understanding of the players that he coached.
And when you think about everything you've heard about Mitch Johnson, from veteran players like Chris Paul to a player like Wemby, that's a skill set that Mitch Johnson seems to have. His ability to connect, especially his ability to connect with younger players. He's 38 years old. Pop had that incredible ability in his 70s to still connect with young players. It's going to be interesting, and it's certainly going to be very different. Shams Charania, he broke the story, but did he? I mean, technically he did, but we got the notification from the Spurs about 15 seconds after Shams broke it. Talked on SportsCenter about why the decision was made today.
Greg Popovich has been in the Spurs facility in the last few days. So as Stephen A. just said, and as I reported, he will still be involved, very hands-on, a vital member of their day-to-day operations. And from my understanding is, as much as Greg Popovich wanted to continue to coach, he wanted to be back on the sidelines really badly. He said it in multiple statements this year. The conclusion that he came to is that it essentially was just going to be too taxing for him. The NBA grind as a head coach, it's a difficult one. And he's someone that is recovering from the stroke in November, and he's making strides. He's on a human level. That's very important. On a human level, he is doing much better. He's in a good place, and he is showing up to the facility. He is a part of what's going on with the Spurs every single day. He'll continue to be, along with their CEO, R.C. Buford. Those are the two architects of everything that goes on in San Antonio. So as much as he pushed and wanted to return, the conclusion was just the taxing nature of being an NBA coach was just not something that was going to be sustainable for him.
And I 100% agree with that, and we've talked about that for weeks here. There is no doubt that that coming back motivated Pop early on in his rehab after the stroke might still be the motivation. But then you realize you can't do this anymore. And I'm glad that Pop made the decision on his own. The timing of it is perfect. A couple weeks before the draft lottery, and where you can go full-fledged into what the offseason is going to be like. I do think this seems like something that was decided in the last couple of weeks maybe, but let's not announce anything until the season is officially over. And when I say it that way, I think they purposely waited until after the Rookie of the Year award so that nothing overshadows Steph Castle. The entire season now is in the books. You know, there's nothing else for the Spurs to do in relation to this past season. So now you can close that book and start working on next year. Let's start working on next year with the announcement of our new head coach, Mitch Johnson. Seeing some of the comments on our YouTube channel, Wookie says, Wookie wrote War and Peace on here. I hope Wemby wanted this because if we lose him because of Mitch Johnson, no, Wemby had a whole lot of influence in this decision. He did. Wemby likes him. Everybody in that organization likes Mitch Johnson. And everybody outside of the organization, they don't know Mitch Johnson. And they look at his experience as a head coach. But he's been a part of the organization for 10 years. And this is one of the knocks on the way the Spurs do business. It really is. These guys don't do a lot of interviews. You don't get a chance to know them. You see them, but you don't know them. You look at the Dallas Cowboys, for example, where everybody does a whole bunch of interviews, and you get to know those guys. And it's easy to root for somebody you feel like you know. We don't know Mitch Johnson. And Pop doesn't like doing interviews. I mean, Pop doesn't do interviews very often on their TV stations. He doesn't do interviews very often, sit down one-on-ones with their flagship radio station. I mean, ask Bill Schoening the last time he did a pregame interview with Greg Popovich. Pop just doesn't like doing them. But he's been around so long, we feel like we know him. We don't know Mitch Johnson, and that factors in. I feel like I know Mike Malone better. I feel like I know Taylor Jenkins better just because of stuff that you've seen that they've done, let alone coaching, but as a person from other interviews that they have done. It's going to be very interesting to see. Let's go to the phones at 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Hey, Gabe, you're on the Blitz.
Hey, Jason, how you doing today? So earlier today when the news broke, obviously a bunch of buddies and family, they were like, Mike Malone, Taylor Jenkins, Dan Hurley, I heard other stuff, crazy. But I think Mitch Johnson is the best choice. That he's going to be able to work with the front office. I think the best. With Pop still being around, I think it's a good hire. It's not kind of like the way you said a little while ago. Like you're not overly overwhelmed, but I think it's going to work out in the long run.
I appreciate the optimism because you're one of the few. And ultimately, it probably will. Let's go back and remember, not a whole lot of people were excited about Pop when he fired Bob Hill and named himself the head coach. Remember, Pop was the GM, fired Bob Hill, and took over. And it was a couple of years, more than 5, couple of titles, before Pop became this celebrity status and Pop we trust head coach in San Antonio. And today, officially announces he is no longer the head coach, will remain as president of basketball operations. Mike Finger from the San Antonio Express News will join us next to talk about it here on The Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
If you travel as much as the San Antonio sports guys travel, while you're on the road, be sure to take us along. Listen to the 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star live stream anywhere on the Odyssey radio app.
Hunger striking, snack time calling, it's crunch time. Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds brings you the boldest protein-packed crunch you can't resist with mouth-watering flavors like hot honey, sweet barbecue, and sea salt and cracked black pepper. Why settle for chips when you can level up your snacking game? Plus, they're low-carb, high-protein, and made for adventurous appetites. Score big flavor today. Grab Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds at H-E-B.
O'Reilly. Did you know 1 in 4 car batteries is weak and needs to be replaced? O'Reilly Auto Parts will test your battery for free in or out of your vehicle. We can help you find the best battery for your vehicle and budget. O'Reilly Auto Parts has batteries starting at just $89.99. Get your battery tested for free today at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Does this sound like your marriage? Wake up and realize that there's a better life waiting. I'm Gary Barton, owner of Barton & Associates, attorneys at law. At Barton & Associates, we specialize in navigating the complexities of divorce law, protecting your best interests, and ensuring you're not left vulnerable. Divorce is tough, but here's the thing. You have a choice. You can either let your spouse dictate the terms, or you can take control of the process and secure your future. If you're serious about protecting yourself and securing your financial future, Barton & Associates is the team you need. Call 210-500-0000. That's 210-5-MILLION. Or visit TexasDivorce.com. If you're tired of this, then start your better life today with Barton & Associates. Visit TexasDivorce.com. That's TexasDivorce.com.
Principal Office, San Antonio.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text ORDER to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text ORDER to 42424 42424. That's order to 42424.
There's a reason Intuitive Services Group handles our janitorial needs here at 94.1. They're local and serious about cleanliness. From nightly cleaning to detailed floor care, they deliver. We trust them, and you can too. Call Mo at 830-470-3007. That's 830-470-3007.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1, San Antonio Sports Star on YouTube. Subscribe to the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel. Joe Reinagel has the day off. I'm Jason Minix. Maybe one of the biggest sports news days in the history of San Antonio. Greg Popovich, no longer the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, will remain with the organization as president of basketball operations. And, of course, Mitch Johnson already named the new head coach. Let's talk about it with San Antonio Express News columnist Mike Finger joining us on the Buyers Barricades guest line. Mike, two major stories with two very different reactions. Let's start with the decision for Greg Popovich, and I think we all kind of felt this coming, but to actually make it official today, your first reaction when you heard the news?
Yeah, I think like everybody else, it's something that we all expected, and yet something we sort of never imagined could actually happen. It's like you said it. It's a momentous day. Probably a day that had to happen. Probably a day that, I mean, when a 76-year-old man who's already the oldest person ever to coach an NBA game suffers a stroke before a game, whether it's mild, minor, however you want to classify it or not, like that's a major deal. And, I think that most people who are around the team, most people who follow the team have realized this was going to be a possibility, maybe even a probability for a long time now. But for it to be finalized, it's really something, Jason. And I think the Spurs realized that they couldn't go through a whole other offseason waiting for him. And Greg Popovich really tried. He wanted to come back. This job means everything to him, not just the coaching basketball, but everything that goes along with it. He wanted to try, but I think everybody realized at some point that spending an entire offseason with uncertainty probably was not going to benefit anyone, and this day just needed to happen.
Mike Finger from the San Antonio Express News here on the Blitz. Mike, no doubt trying to return was probably a huge motivator in his rehab process, especially early on. But I do think this is the best move for the organization because he's still a part of it. And moving forward, when do you think the decision was made? I kind of feel like this has probably been made a couple of weeks ago, but they wanted to wait until you can completely close the book on the season, and they did that with the Rookie of the Year press conference the other day.
Try not to be insensitive about this, but I think that this is a decision that sort of came gradually, and sort like if you would have asked me, I'll leave sources and team officials out of it. If you would have asked me 3 months ago, is Greg Popovich going to coach again? Which, by the way, is something that in every town in America I go to, whether it's for college football games or NBA games or vacation or whatever, everyone would ask, is Greg Popovich going to coach again? My answer all along was probably not. Like, it just did not seem likely. And I think the Spurs probably felt that way too. But you had to give him the chance to try. And I think that to answer your question on when this was ultimately officially decided, I don't know if there was a one day, but I think at some point you just had to go to Greg Popovich and say, look, we respect you trying, but I think it's time. And I think Greg Popovich finally understood that. And, this might have been something that everyone understood 2 weeks ago. It might have been a month ago, but it had to happen at some point. And I think it's good for the organization. Like you said, Pop's going to continue to be around. His presence, what I wrote today, and a column for tomorrow's newspaper is, his presence had been sort of inescapable even after the stroke when he was gone. He's always going to have a huge influence on this program, on this franchise, on everybody who he's touched over the years. And that will continue to be the case. But they needed to turn it over to somebody new, to whoever was going to take over full time, and to transition to your next topic. That person is 38-year-old Mitch Johnson, which is sort of staggering in itself.
It really is. And, Mike Finger, the idea that we don't really celebrate the great coaching career of Pop because they did make the announcement so quickly. And I get it. The speculation, would it be Malone, would it be Becky, would it be Steve Kerr, Taylor Jenkins? You name the long list of potential candidates. They nipped that in the bud almost immediately, but at least what I've seen on social media, comments on our YouTube, callers to the show today, not a lot of excitement for Mitch Johnson. Your initial reaction, and I saw you tweet, Wemby had a whole lot to say in this decision.
Well, I didn't mean that Wemby picked him.
Sure.
But this would not happen. This would not happen without Victor Wembanyama's full-throated, complete, explicit endorsement. Like if Victor had any reservations about this at all, it would not happen. And that's just sort of common sense. I mean, the moment that the Spurs won that lottery 2 summers ago, Victor Wembanyama became the most important person in the whole organization, Greg Popovich included. And that's just an obvious chain of events. I mean, he's that kind of player. Every move that the Spurs make moving forward has to be built around Victor Wembanyama and Victor Wembanyama wanting it. So, yes, like there's without a doubt, there is no way that Victor Wembanyama has any reservations about playing for Mitch Johnson. He mentioned that in his discussion with us after the season about how impressed he was with the way the Spurs played without Victor. Mitch kept him going. But to get back to your point about the lack of enthusiasm from the fans, like that's understandable. A couple things there. No NBA team should make a decision like that, trying to win the press conference. Like that it's too important. And we've seen so many times over the years, a team trying to win the press conference, get the guy that everybody thinks they should get, and that guy's fired within a year. The Spurs do things their own way. The other thing is like yes, if the Spurs were to open this up, if they would have said today, Greg Popovich is retiring, we are going to wait on our announcement as the head coach later. Every person in the world who has ever picked up a whistle, who has ever coached a CYO, YMCA practice, high school practice, junior high practice, every Hall of Famer, every NBA coach, every college coach would have been interested in that job. And that, I think, is where your listeners are coming from in the idea that anybody could have had this, and they could have had their pick of anyone. So why did they pick this guy? And they did it because they believe in him. And it's an understandable reaction for people to say that they should have opened it up to somebody else, but this is their guy. This is the guy Wemby believes in. This is the guy Pop believed in. He's the guy who's come up through their system, and we'll find out if they're right or not. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say one or the other, but it is a very Spurs thing to do, to keep it in the family and to keep that continuity going.
Mike Finger from the San Antonio Express-News joining us here on the Blitz. I got to believe in the what-if scenario world prior to the stroke. If something were to happen to Pop, Mitch Johnson would be interim coach. That's why that decision seemingly was made so quickly. Do you think, like for years, it always felt like, well, when Pop retires, it'll be Coach Bud. And then Coach Bud obviously went and became a head coach. Do you think Mitch has been kind of the coach in waiting without us knowing for a couple of years?
I don't think that, actually. I think that if this would have happened a year ago, I don't think that Mitch Johnson would have taken over. Let's say if Greg Popovich had retired last April, I just don't see how. I don't think they could have gone to Mitch Johnson, who had at that point never even coached on an interim basis, other than like a game or two. There's no way that would happen. I think he really impressed them with what he did over the past year. I think a year ago they might have looked at, name your Will Hardys, your Taylor Jenkins, those type of players, those type of coaches. I think that what he did, taking over the way he took over, just spur of the moment, with all this uncertainty as to Pop's health, as to what was going to happen. Like, he did a remarkably solid job during the season that I think really won everybody over, and I think that made him the guy.
Mike Finger, columnist with the San Antonio Express-News here on the Blitz. You've got a couple of stories on the website today. The column that you wrote, I guess, being tomorrow's paper, talking about Pop's presence. When you've been covering this team this year, and you get access that most don't, when you've been around Mitch Johnson, what kind of guy is he? And I ask that in the way of, a lot of us don't get to know these guys because they don't do a lot of interviews on radio or television. I don't know Mitch Johnson. I think personally I've talked to him twice. What kind of guy is he when he's not around all the cameras and microphones?
To go back, I think that goes back to the way he was hired, which was basically to be there for DeJounte Murray. It was after the Spurs drafted DeJounte. DeJounte came, as your listeners, I'm sure, are aware, had a pretty rough upbringing in Seattle. And one of the guys that connected with him early on was Mitch Johnson, who had been a point guard at Stanford, who was doing some youth coaching at that time, really made a connection with DeJounte. And the Spurs kind of hired him to be around and to continue that relationship. Over the years that followed, they found out that this is just not a guy to take care of DeJounte Murray to kind of foster that one player's improvement. This was a guy that they wanted around in all sorts of areas, that he could be a development guy for other players. He could be a G League coach for those players in Austin. He could be a summer league coach. He could be a guy who, just as an example, would warm Wemby up as an assistant before every game. He was the guy who was shagging balls for him. And once he became head coach, he continued to shag balls for Wemby. I think he was the only head coach in the NBA who was doing that during pregame warmups. And that just kind of speaks to the kind of guy he is, that he just impressed everyone with the work that he put in. And he's not a flashy guy. He's got a good sense of humor. He's got a good personality to him. You can't work for the Spurs without that. But humble, hardworking, knows his stuff, commands the respect of the locker room. That's another big thing. It's like no one thought that it was the substitute teacher when Mitch Johnson was in control. So all of that leads to the Spurs making this decision now. And I'm not here to guarantee you that he's going to be a resounding success and that he's going to follow Pop to the Hall of Fame or even be here, 3, 4, or 5 years from now. But there are reasons to believe he can be very good at this.
Well, and let's remember, fans today don't seem overly excited that Mitch is the new head coach. I think they'll come around. But at the same time, you remember when Pop fired Bob Hill. There are a lot of people not happy with that decision. And, lose 3, fire Pop calls. He had to win a couple of titles before it became in Pop We Trust.
And that's a great point, Jason. Like Mitch is going through a cakewalk here. He compared to the Pop pitchfork days. Nobody wanted Pop around. If you were doing a radio show in 1997, everyone was outraged. That guy who had only been a head coach at Pomona Pittsburgh Division III was taking this team over. Mitch will have a significantly easier transition, I think, than Greg Popovich did.
Absolutely. Well, with Pop still there as president of basketball operations, how difficult will it be for Mitch Johnson to put his fingerprints all over this team? It's not interim head coach; it's now his team.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see. The whole reason why you keep Mitch Johnson around is because you don't necessarily want an entire new set of fingerprints, an entire new system, an entire new way of doing things around this team. I think you want the Pop way to continue, and this is the easiest way to do that. So does does Mitch Johnson do things slightly differently in different areas than Pop did? Sure. And those differences will probably become apparent over time. He will find more latitude, more freedom to kind of do things his way. But the Spurs way has worked pretty well for 25 years now. And I think, if anything, this is the statement they make by hiring a longtime assistant to kind of continue the Spurs way. Like that's the priority here. It's not about doing things in a completely new way. It's about kind of bringing new ideas to a tried and true system. And I think that's the way you would describe what Mitch is trying to accomplish here.
Well said. Always well written, as well as we visit with Mike Finger from the San Antonio Express-News. Biggest offseason move, obviously. Now, from a player standpoint, because this is such an important offseason for this organization, and clarity at head coach had to happen before the draft lottery and the process moving forward, what kind of major moves, if any, do you expect this team to make this offseason?
That was it seems like 20 years ago, but what I wrote yesterday in today's paper is asking the question about the trade speculation that the Spurs are sure to find themselves in the middle of this offseason, whether it's Kevin Durant, whether it's Giannis. Here's something that's indisputable. The Spurs could beat any deal that anyone would offer for one of those guys. That's just a fact. They have the draft capital. They have the young players. They could do that if they wanted to. The question is whether they want to, and I don't think they do. To kind of nip that in the bud right away, I don't think that either of those guys fits into the Spurs' vision of a long-term competitive window. The NBA has proven to us over the past several years is that the big three approach doesn't work anymore. The super teams aren't winning anymore. It's the teams that grow slowly and steadily. And so I think that's the approach. They took their big swing by trading for De'Aaron Fox, who fits into their timeline. He's a younger guy. He's a guy who can be here when Wemby's at his peak. And I think you continue to fill in around De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama, and Stephon Castle, the new Rookie of the Year. Those are your three long-term pieces. I think that you continue to grow. You need to go through some playoff failures before you get to the playoff successes. And I think that you will hear their names mentioned, the Spurs, when it comes to where Kevin Durant might end up, where Giannis might end up. I think that there might be some temptation, as any team would be tempted. I just don't think that that's the type of swing you're going to make at this point in time in the development of what the Spurs are building.
It's going to be, I don't know, maybe one of the more interesting off seasons in recent memory outside of landing the number one pick and getting Wemby, unless, of course, they win the draft lottery again, which I don't think would surprise anybody because it's what the Spurs do.
That's what they do. That's what, and that'd be a story, Jason. That might make the newspaper.
That might make the newspaper. Well, I tell you what, tomorrow's newspaper is one of those columns by one Mike Finger that you're going to want to cut out and keep, because reading it online is one thing, but there's something about the ink on your fingers and certain articles that you save forever. And I think tomorrow's column by Mike Finger is one that you're going to want to do that with. Mike, appreciate you jumping on with us this afternoon. I know it's been a busy day writing for you.
Thanks a lot, Jason. Take care.
Appreciate it. Mike Finger from the San Antonio Express-News on the Buyers Barricades guest line, where they provide traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond, online at buyersbarricades.com. Truly is one of the, if not the biggest sports story in the history of our city. I mean, David's retirement, Timmy's retirement, winning championships. But you've had one coach for 30 years, 29 years, the winningest coach in the NBA, the legendary status, the Hall of Fame status that he has. While we all expected it, it's still surprising to think next year it won't be Pop on the sideline. And it won't be Mitch Johnson with interim in front of him or somebody else coaching this team. Wemby just tweeted, 29 years. Coach, thank you for your wisdom, for your leadership, for the culture you created, but most importantly, for being a great and inspiring person. It was an honor to be a part of those 29 years. Wishing you the best on your new chapter. And the GOAT emoji. True. It's what it is. You want to react? On YouTube, you can always comment there. Dial us up, 210-656-ESPN, 3776. Those same numbers right now. If you're caller number 10, you'll win tickets to go see Wilco. You want to go see Wilco in concert? 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. They're playing down at the SB on May 6th. Waxahachie is the opener. Caller 10, those tickets are yours for free. If you don't win them, you can always buy them at livenation.com.
Riding 1604 with the Blitz.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again.
Afternoons 2 to 6. KTFM Floresville. And everywhere at sasportstar.com.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
You know what's better than a limited time deal? An unlimited time deal. That's why the Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag with a Junior Bacon Cheeseburger, 4-piece nugs, Junior Hot and Crispy Fries, and small soft drink is available all the time. Because the best time for fresh, never frozen beef and Applewood smoked bacon is all the time. Duh. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Unlimited time does not mean forever. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California via third-party delivery. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Progressive Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance might be the easiest part of owning a home. Definitely easier than this.
Psst, honey. Honey! What? Shh, there's a salesman walking up the driveway.
Oh no, he's got a clipboard.
What do we do?
Get down.
Down?
On the floor, you...
Shoot, did he see us?
Why are you breathing so loud?
Home ownership isn't easy, but with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, shopping for home insurance is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Vivid Seats is your ultimate destination for basketball and hockey this season. With a game-changing rewards program and an unbeatable selection of tickets, they make it easy for every fan to watch their favorite teams and players in action. Catch every one-timer and buzzer-beating 3 live and in person from your favorite seat. Plus, every ticket is backed by a 100% buyer guarantee, giving you peace of mind with every purchase. Don't miss out. Visit VividSeats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats, the official ticketing partner of ESPN.
At the Institute for Functional Health, we are dedicated to helping you live life fully, playing with your kids, golfing, and feeling great without relying on pills. We're not about treating symptoms temporarily. We're about extending your health span, the years you live in good health. I'm Dr. Torres, and for over a decade, my team has transformed lives by tackling health issues at the root. Tired of medications without real answers? Take control of your health with us. Call 210-468-1891 for a free Discovery Day consultation or visit iffhealth.com. Improve your health span today.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The San Antonio Spurs announced today that Greg Popovich will be transitioning from head coach to president of basketball operations. In his 29 years at the helm, Pop has the most regular season wins in NBA history and led the Spurs to 5 NBA championships and led Team USA to a gold medal. Pop, who suffered a stroke earlier this season, said in a statement, "While his love and passion for the game remain, he's decided it's time to step away." It's been announced that interim head coach Mitch Johnson will succeed Pop as the next head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. I'm James Pledger for San Antonio Sports Star.
SportsCenter is brought to you by Buyers Barricades, the Texas authority in barricade rental. BuyersBarricades.com.
Joe Reinagel.
That's the third time in 7 seasons. The San Antonio Spurs are the NBA champions.
Jason Minix.
They go back to big day as Super Bowl champions. Dallas 52, Buffalo 17.
It's the Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1, a San Antonio Sports Star on a Fiesta Friday. Gazillion people off work today. And I'd like to say they were all downtown, but traffic sucked driving into work today, and I was a little surprised by that. You know, that 12:30, everybody like, nobody's at work today. Or a lot of people had the day off. If you're down at the parade, I imagine the conversation is what it is. Big news, maybe the biggest sports news in the history of our city. And I don't want to sound like, I mean, it really is true when you think about the finality of Greg Popovich's coaching career. Joe Reinagel has the day off. I'm Jason Minix. You can interact with the show today. You want to tell Pop stories. If you had an encounter with Pop out in public somewhere, just him being a part of the fabric of our society, of our life for 3 decades. It really is amazing how we timestamp stuff on our YouTube page, and you can comment on YouTube. Just go to the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel. Claymore said, Pop was coach of the Spurs before I enlisted in the Army. I did 22 years and retired. Pop was still coaching. My daughter is 26. The only coach she's ever known for her San Antonio Spurs. She's been in Phoenix at Arizona State for 4 years. They've had 5 coaches. 4 coaches, whatever. It's amazing when you think about the coaching career of Greg Popovich. And you can't sum it up in words. It's a 4-hour talk show. You can't sum it up. The idea of everything that he's done. You can read all the accolades. And the accolades, they're there. Winning as coach, 5 championships, 3 times coach of the year, 22 consecutive playoff seasons, at least 50 wins in 18 straight seasons. Longevity and success. Incredible. But the timing, perfect for him to transition to president of basketball operations, which is what he is doing. Will still be a part of the organization. But the stroke, and I think we all knew, ended that run. Prematurely? Sure. Because I'm sure Pop wanted to go out a different way from coaching. His decision. And I would say his decision, his hand was kind of forced because of health. At the same time, timing is perfect because the cupboard is full. 4 or 5 years ago, if he would have retired, whoever would have been hired wouldn't have been successful and they would have been fired. And if you go back a couple of years and all the talk about could Becky replace Greg Popovich, and I remember saying on this show then, hope not, because the team wasn't good and they were, and then, coaches get fired. A lot of times coaches get hired, they take over bad teams, and then they get fired because they don't turn it around fast enough because we are not a patient society. The Spurs, though, are a patient organization internally. But for Pop to have this team right now to hand over the coaching reins to Mitch Johnson on a full-time basis. That is the permanent decision. If you've been out fiesting and just getting by the radio, and if this is news to you, Mitch Johnson, it is official. There is no coaching search. I was texting earlier with a buddy of mine, a group text with Rob Thompson, and this guy works for one of those betting agencies, and they were coming up with the odds on who it could be, and they were asking our input. And before the text exchanges were all done, it was already official. It was going to be Mitch Johnson, who is number 3 on the list, by the way, with the odds that you're never going to be able to deal with. But the cupboard is full. You've got Wemby. You made the trade for De'Aaron Fox. Steph Castle is going to be a superstar. You got 2 lottery picks this year. If there was ever a time for Greg Popovich to pass the baton, now is that time. The cupboard is full. You're heading into an important offseason where you could make a lot of trades. You've got all the picks available to you. You've got some young talent that you could part with if you want to go that route. I think Mike Finger earlier here on the Blitz might have said it best. There is not a team out there that could match a better offer than what the Spurs could match for anybody. Now, that wouldn't be the Spurs' way to go out and make a blockbuster trade and bring somebody in. But as the Spurs are mentioned in all kinds of different trade rumors, from Giannis to you name it, this is going to be a fascinating offseason. You might have expectations of this trade, that trade, and that trade, or it might be what we always expect from the Spurs. Pop is still running things as president. Brian Wright's still the general manager. Mitch Johnson has been a part of this organization for 10 years. He understands it's not like he's new and is going to shake things up. Will he do things differently? Sure. I would expect some things. Might be practice time and, pregame meals. But in reality, he'll be able to put his stamp as head coach. What those differences are, we'll see over time. Now, I know a lot of people are really very, very down on the Mitch Johnson hiring because of what we saw last year. He made a lot of mistakes last year. Rotations, minutes, timeouts. He learned on the job. But the organization has a lot of faith in him. And we get caught up a lot of times in the big names that are out there. And I'm in this boat. I look at some of the available candidates. Hell, even if they're not available, who wouldn't want this job? You've got Wemby. You've got Wemby. You've got Wemby. And you got De'Aaron Fox, and you got Steph Castle, and you got all the picks in the world. There's nobody out there that wouldn't want this job. All the talk about, could Steve Kerr get this job? Yeah. You look at Golden State, are they at the end of their run? I know that's the guy Joe Reinagel was thinking and wanting, and I wouldn't be mad at that. Mike Malone's available. Taylor Jenkins is available. You hear little rumors in the background. Could Manu coach? Sure. You name it. You name any veteran coach. I think everybody would be interested in this job because of Wemby. Now, you're taking over for a legend, a Hall of Famer, and that's no easy task either. There's a lot of people out there. One of the things you don't want to do is replace a legend. You want to be the guy that replaces the guy that replaced the legend. Mitch Johnson, Spurs organization, tends to be patient, and they believe in him. Wemby believes in him. I wonder how long it's going to take fans to believe in Mitch Johnson. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Let's go to the phones. Hey, Neil, you're on the Blitz. What's going on, man?
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, sir. I really appreciate it. First of all, I wanted to just echo some sentiments my friends and I have been talking about as it relates to Coach Pop. A legend, the GOAT. We're going to miss him terribly. I mean, Coach Popovich and the Spurs were our entire childhood. And, you know, it's going to take a lot of getting used to not see him on the sidelines. And this year when we would go to games and not see him there, it was strange, surreal even. And now to get this news today, you know, just I hope that he's happy with it and comfortable with it. And I hope that he's going to still be able to get as involved as he can, because I do think a lot of people in our city care about him as a person. We care about how he feels in this moment. And, you know, we would have wanted him to go out the way that I'm sure he would have wanted to. But in this moment, I'm thinking of him and hoping that he's at peace with this, that he's going to find peace with this. And I'm sure a lot of Spurs fans, other Spurs fans, including my friends, feel that way. And so I'm going to try to have a positive outlook as it relates to his departure. As it relates to, you know, new coach Mitch Johnson, I mean, I think I don't speak for everybody. You know, I've seen what you guys have seen. I would say that I'm not necessarily down on the selection, because I don't think there's enough evidence to be down on the situation. What I would say is that it's concerning isn't even really the word, but I just don't know why the other veteran options weren't looked at. You know what I mean? Like, why wasn't there a process? Because if there had been a process and then Coach Johnson was the selection, then okay. You know what I mean? Like, that's completely different. You know what I mean? And I think
it is interesting, Neil, and I appreciate the way you phrase that, because there wasn't a interview process. He got promoted from within. They just took interim away. So basically since November, he's had an interview process. Whoever's doing the evaluating liked what they were seeing. We see what the guy does in games, and that's it. And I can watch him, what I think is making a mistake on a rotation or a play call or whatever. But they're watching him interact with every one of those players. They're watching him command a room with players. Wemby likes him. And that's a big factor. So they saw all kinds. I've got to believe, I don't know this, but I've got to believe, whether it's Pop, Peter J. Holt, RC, Brian Wright, all of them sitting in a meeting room over there at their facility. I don't know, maybe at Pop's house. Who knows? But I can imagine that they had all those discussions about who they would want to bring in. And if they do an interview process, that changes everything. If they don't announce it immediately, you know what today's show is? Who do we want? And I'm going to get call after call. What about this guy? What about that guy? It's Becky. It's this. It's that. And they didn't want to deal with any of that. Clearly, they did not want to do. This is an organization that does not like to be in the news that way. They nipped it in the bud immediately about the next head coach. But this organization is always so thorough in everything that they do. To think they didn't have discussions about potential candidates outside of Mitch Johnson. You know, they did. And they still went with Mitch. You know, one of the things with Greg Popovich's coaching tree, they know these guys. They know them. Now, I don't know how well, like a Peter J. Holt knows them, but, you know, Pop does. You know, RC does. You know, Brian Wright does. So I don't know that they had to go through official interview processes to, nope, Mitch is our guy. They know the strengths. They know the personalities. It's not like I got to believe they had all those internal discussions and just came to the conclusion that they already had their guy. Now, I kind of wonder, did they know that before Mitch was the interim coach? Was he kind of a coach in waiting? Mike Finger, didn't agree with that theory. But we don't know. And we will never know because it's the Spurs. But they like him enough. We see him for 2.5 hours coaching a basketball game. They're around him every day. They're seeing what he's like in practice, what he's like on the team playing, how he's motivating the guys, the locker room speeches, the watching him have the private conversations with a player, a player's wife, a kid, all the interactions that you see. And you think about Greg Popovich. One of the things that makes him a great coach isn't all the X's and O's. In fact, our friend Antonio Daniels on his Sirius XM radio show talked about why Pop is the greatest coach of all time.
You know, he saw who guys were, recognized their potential, and then put them in a position to be successful with what they did best, along with, and this is why I say he's the greatest coach of all time, having a true understanding of the players that he coached.
That's it. It's so much more than X's and O's. Obviously, Pop's brilliant at that. But it's connecting with the players. And this is a guy that in his 70s was able to connect with 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. Well, one of the very big positives for Mitch Johnson is his ability to do the exact same thing, and he's 38 years old. Going to be interesting. You want to talk Pop? You want to talk Mitch? 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. You can also tweet at JSeminix. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment there as well. We'll take your calls coming up here on The Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. If you're a business owner, a manager, a club leader, you need your logo on any kind of gear, make sure you get into Sammy's Embroidery and Printing down on San Pedro. Sam has his spring line on display, so if you need your logo on a nice golf shirt, a fishing shirt, any kind of shirt, Sam will get you taken care of. If you need T-shirts screen printed, go see Sam. He has over 700 uniform lines to choose from, all kinds of industries. And if you need caps, Sam has over 25,000 caps and more than 75 color combinations on display in his showroom. And he's got all the popular cap brands, the Richardson 112 style trucker caps, Katie caps, Nike Cap America, to name a few. Sammy is the only company in Texas with one-day turnaround. Nobody has better prices. No order too big, certainly no order too small. So call Sammy's Embroidery and Printing, 210-824-3900, 824-3900, or go by that massive showroom on San Pedro, 1 mile inside Loop 410, next to Big Lots across from McDonald's, or check the website, samsembroidery.com, for Sammy's Embroidery Club.
The John Clay Wolf Show. Here's what's going on in the Wolf Pack.
I took my stepdad's Bronco 2 to the beach in Nantucket, and I hooked up with this, get this.
Yes.
Danish nanny.
Of course.
So you do have a type.
Yes.
The John Clay Wolf Show.
Catch the John Clay Wolf Show Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon right here on San Antonio Sports Star.
Listen up, San Antonio. At University of Maryland Global Campus, you can get college credit for the stripes you've earned. Turn your military rank into college credit to save time and money on an online degree. Eligible enlisted service members and previously enlisted veterans may receive up to 12 credits for select undergraduate courses based on their rank, and up to 90 credits in total for prior learning, military experience, and training. Classes start soon. Learn more at umgc.edu/SATX.
If you've been injured in an accident, you know there's no shortage of attorneys who want your business. But when it comes to results, the numbers speak for themselves. Thomas J. Henry secured over $1 billion for clients in the past 4 years. We've successfully represented thousands of injured Texans, earning over 12,000 five-star reviews on Google. So, who is the right attorney for you? Just look at the numbers. Thomas J. Henry, the name you know, the firm you trust. San Antonio, Texas.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks,
"How's your French going?"
you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive so you can stop worrying about them and invent new things to worry about, like snakes in your bedroom. Sure, that sounds incredibly irrational, but now that we've mentioned it, you are a little worried. The odds of one snake, let alone snakes plural, are so slim. But you might want to check. Oh, you're not near your bedroom. Guess you'll just have to sit there and worry about it. So let Progressive protect your home and auto, because you've got enough to worry about. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Gentlemen, testosterone levels can start dropping in your 30s, leading to low energy, reduced libido, and slower metabolism. Rock's Discount Vitamins is making it easy to take back control. No appointments and no prescriptions. Just head into a Rock's and walk out with a natural solution tailored to you. Our powerful line of natural testosterone boosters can help increase energy, build muscle, rev up your metabolism, and reignite your drive. You'll feel the difference and fast. Visit rocksdiscountvitamins.com. We thank God in South Texas.
It's The Blitz with Jason and Joe on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
It is The Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. If you're watching on YouTube, appreciate that. Subscribe to the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel. Just me today. I'm Jason Minix. Joe Reinagel in a golf tournament. Although Pledge was saying during the break, is it raining outside? Is it bad?
I was worried it was bad. I saw something about hail up in Kerrville, but just rain as of right now.
Just rain as of right now. There's hail in Kerrville. So maybe Reinegel's not playing golf today. He's in the clubhouse somewhere.
There's a good chance of that.
Mm-hmm. Man, some of the storms that rolled through. I know up in Copper's Cove, where my mom is at, there's some tornadoes and big hail. Over in Killeen, my brother said he got a lot of hail damage on his truck. Yeah, it was bad last night. Who knows? But at least the rain seemed like it. The Battle of Flowers parade went off without a hitch. I think it should be over by now.
I think so, yeah.
All right. If it's raining where you are, let me know. I'm in a windowless studio. I have no idea. I know it was supposed to rain. Sounds like it did. Big news of the day. And there's a comment on our YouTube page. Pop statue at the new Wemby Center. It says Oscar. Absolutely. You know, one of the cool things about today, and gather my thoughts on this, Greg Popovich today makes the decision official, makes it public, that he's no longer going to be the head coach. Still going to be president of basketball operations. I am a big believer in letting people get their flowers. While they deserve it, it's just always feels so weird when you see somebody go into a Hall of Fame after they've passed. It's great for the family, but that person never got to enjoy life as a Hall of Famer. And we know Pop does not like this kind of attention. You know, my Facebook memories from a couple of days ago was one of Greg Popovich's Rookie of the Year press conferences. Yeah, he doesn't, right? I was surprised that he actually agreed to go into the Basketball Hall of Fame when he did. I love the fact that there is a balance today of celebrating Greg Popovich's coaching career, while at the same time digesting the fact that they chose Mitch Johnson as the new head coach, his replacement. But I look at Greg Popovich, and I hope that he is enjoying the accolades. We had a caller earlier say, I hope Pop's at peace with the decision. I hope so too, because Pop's hand was forced because of the stroke. He just didn't decide, I can't do it anymore. Life happens. But he made the best decision for the organization. He made the best decision for Greg Popovich. And while I would love to see Greg Popovich Court, a statue at the new Wemby Center, I don't know that we will while he's here. I don't know that he would sign off and agree to, having his autograph or whatever it might be on the court there at the AT&T or Frost Bank Center or whatever the new Wemby Center is going to be called. I don't know. Should there be? Absolutely. Will there be while he is alive? I don't know. Especially since he's still working for the organization and not fully retired. I don't know. I mean, whatever banner goes up, you get all the retired jerseys. I don't know what you do for a coach. It's not like the Cowboys Ring of Honor with Tom Landry and the fedora. But there should be some sort of banner, some sort of. And look, you could put 5 rings on there. You could put 3 Coach of the Years on there, career wins and regular season victories. There's all kinds of things that, it'd have to be a big-ass banner because there's so much that you could put up there for Greg Popovich. But I think with the new Wemby Center, not just Pop, and Pop would be the first to tell you, he doesn't do any of this without Tim. He doesn't do any of this without Tony, without Manu, without David Robinson. And I think that's true. And every great coach knows that. But you look at what this man has done for an organization, the longevity that he had as head coach is remarkable. And I don't know that we'll see that in sports, in major professional sports, how quickly things change. Mitch is 38. Could you imagine if he's still coaching this team at 74, 75, 76? If so, they made all the right decisions. But I wonder, as patient as the Spurs organization is, how patient will they be with Mitch Johnson? This is such an important offseason for the San Antonio Spurs. And they go with a 38-year-old to drive this Ferrari. Actually, what's better than a Ferrari? A Bugatti? I don't know. They pulled something out of Mayweather's garage. It truly is amazing with the veteran head coaches, the experienced coaches that they could have sought. They went with Mitch Johnson. And Pop, we trust. Spurs fans, universally, I don't have anything official right now, but just reactions on my Twitter, reactions on the YouTube comments, reactions on the calls that we've had today. I'd probably say it's 80-20 negative. The excitement level isn't there for Mitch. He's got a press conference Monday at 11. It'd be interesting to hear Mitch. And part of me, I feel bad for Mitch Johnson. I don't know Mitch Johnson. I think I've talked to him twice. That he gets this job. Anybody that gets in the coaching, you probably dream you're going to be a head coach. And not only does he get to be a head coach, he gets to be a head coach of this team. And I can't imagine there is a coach out there that, if had the opportunity, wouldn't take this job. Wemby, Castle, Fox, all the draft picks. It's the Spurs. And they go with 38-year-old Mitch Johnson. Of all the potential candidates that we've heard about and talked about, if Pop decided to retire, he was last on my list, personally. I don't mean that as a negative to Mitch, but he's 38. And I look at what this team has, and I fully expected a veteran coach to come in and get this gig. So what I'm going to watch now, who does he add to his staff? What kind of veteran coaches does he add to his staff? It's gonna be fascinating to see in this incredibly important offseason. And it really is. The biggest offseason decision was made official today, and that is Pop is not going to be the head coach. Mitch Johnson is going to be the head coach. You want to talk about it? Let's do it. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. You can also use those numbers right now to dial us up. Let's see, if you're caller 7, you're going to win tickets to go see, what do we have? Missions tickets. You can go see the San Antonio Missions playing out at Wolf Stadium on a Tuesday night. Family 4-pack of tickets. They're taking on the Frisco Rough Riders. It's a $2 Tuesday brought to you by San Antonio Sports Star. What'd I say, 7? Caller 7, those tickets are yours. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776.
When traveling to see the Longhorns in Austin, make sure you bring along the guys from 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Listen anywhere on the Odyssey radio app.
Hi, it's me, your USPS Ground Advantage shipment. Just left the warehouse and hitting the road.
I know. Just got the notification.
Great. Smooth sailing so far. I'm almost there.
Yes, I know. I get all the updates.
Made it. Safe and sound.
I know.
Well, did you know I was with USPS the whole time?
Oh, yeah. I know.
Keep your business in the know with the USPS Ground Advantage service. Visit USPS.com/in-the-know.
Get a taste of that winning feeling before the buzzer sounds with ESPN Bet's Early Victory promo. Simply place a pregame moneyline bet on any NBA playoff game. And if the team you bet goes up by 20 or more points at any point in the game, your bet will get paid out early. Available throughout the NBA playoffs at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Download the app today. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
When you switch to Progressive and bundle your home and auto, you could save hundreds, and that's a surprising amount of money.
Whoa, that's like farmer's market money.
That's like, give me a gallon of that locally sourced raw honey money.
That's certified organic heirloom tomatoes in every imaginable color except red money.
That's, let's get 2 pounds of pink oyster mushrooms money. I'm not even sure I like pink oyster mushrooms.
Guess it's time to find out, because you could save hundreds when you switch to Progressive and bundle. Then the world is your pink oyster mushroom. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free.
Hi, friends. This is Keith Hernandez. Ever notice that when your shop needs a part, Napa is there? It's no accident. Napa spent 100 years building nationwide networks of parts and know-how for one reason: to keep businesses moving. Whether you've got a fleet of 500 trucks or a single bay garage, they've got you covered with the parts and expert service you need when and where you need it. Because at Napa, they are the pros that know how to keep you running at full speed. Find the parts you're looking for at NapaOnline.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
There's a reason Intuitive Services Group handles our janitorial needs here at 94.1. They're local and serious about cleanliness. From nightly cleaning to detailed floor care, they deliver. We trust them, and you can too. Call Mo at 830-470-3007. That's 830-470-3007.
Injuries happen, and when they do, skip the ER and get to the Ortho Now Injury Clinic by TSAOG Orthopedics and Spine. Ortho Now provides walk-in care for injuries like broken bones, dislocations, sprains, and strains. Conveniently located in the Quarry area with extended hours Monday through Saturday with on-site x-ray casting and bracing, Ortho Now has everything you need to treat your injury, and best of all, no urgent care or emergency room copay. Learn more online at tsaog.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it. But not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to Hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1, San Antonio Sports Star. Ryan Eagle has the day off. I'm Jason Minix. Glad to have you along on this Fiesta Friday. You can always be a part of the show. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. On Twitter, at Jason Minix, Minnix. We're watching on YouTube. Appreciate that. You can always comment on our YouTube channel. Subscribe there. Hit the thumbs up button. It's just me and you today, and it's a Friday. It's a Fiesta Friday. And it's one of those days that took a hard left turn about 11 o'clock. I had all kinds of things that we were going to do today because, solo, and it's a Fiesta Friday. People are at the parade. And quite frankly, a little hungover after last night. Taste of the North Side, which was fantastic. It was fantastic. And, it's interesting. We were over at the Rock yesterday doing our show. And at the end of the show, we were talking about seeing one of their PR guys leaving. We're like, why is that guy working at 5:30? Well, he was scheduled sending, I'm guessing, I don't know that. But, yeah, this wasn't a decision that was just made. And I think by design, and I don't know this, just a guess, that they waited until after the Steph Castle Rookie of the Year press conference, because that was the last thing on this past season's to-do list. And that press conference is over. The calendar flipped to May. You've heard me say for weeks, the Spurs need to know what the direction is. Now Joe and I talked about this a lot. The decision internally might be known. Those that need to know. You don't get any kind of leakage coming from the Spurs offices. You just don't. CIA Pop. And I do believe, whether it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, probably, I mean, you're talking about a guy recovering from a stroke. And I know coming back was the goal for Greg Popovich, and probably motivated him like hell during his rehab. You know, my wife, who is a nurse, she just got a new job, but her last job, she was working in the neuro ward. She dealt with a lot of stroke victims. And people have different reasons in their motivation. And if you've got a woe is me kind of attitude and nothing really to work for, it takes a while, if ever. If you've got something you've got to do to get back, you're motivated like hell. My mother, she fell a couple years ago, broke her leg, and was in a rehab. It was a nightmare. My dad was extremely ill. Her motivation was to get home to take care of my dad. And she got home a lot faster than anybody thought. I worry if something happened to my mom now, that motivation to get out of there wouldn't be there. Greg Popovich is motivated to get better because he wanted to coach. But even he said today in his statement, in the statement, there's a quote from Greg Popovich. While my love and passion for the game remain, I've decided it's time to step away as head coach. I'm forever grateful to the wonderful players, coaches, staff, and fans who allowed me to serve them as the Spurs head coach, and I'm excited for the opportunity to continue to support the organization, community, and city that are so meaningful to me. Every other, well, and it's not like they've had a bunch, but the previous statements from Greg Popovich during this process all indicated his desire to return to coaching. And I get it. Greg Popovich probably did not want to end his coaching career because of this. No athlete wants to go out because of an injury. Most I know, most you've read about, most that you know, guys that you have followed, they all want to control their exit. Some stay too long, and the game tells them. Others leave when there's something in the tank. Everybody's a little bit different. But I do think, stroke aside, health aside, the timing is right for Greg Popovich to step down as head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. The cupboard is full. The future is bright for this Spurs team. Extremely bright. 5-6 years ago, because let's face it, ever since Tim retired, ever since, I don't know, that dude blew up this organization and LaMarcus moved on. I mean, pick a timestamp. But every year, for many, and probably more so since he turned 70, at the end of every year, you always wondered, would this be it? Would it be? I do think for a guy like Greg Popovich, who often joke that, what do you do in retirement? There's more to basketball. He's not really a basketball lifer. Wineries, travel, things that he loves to do. I think when his wife passed 7 years ago, a lot of his post-basketball plans changed, and that's certainly understandable. You know, Mike Finger in his Express News column has a line, Pop was asked in 2013 about retirement. He's like, you can only grow so many tomatoes. But Pop is staying on as president of basketball operations. By all accounts, he's been around the facility quite a bit lately. But he also understands, according to what Shams Charania has said on ESPN, the day-to-day grind, you just can't do.
Greg Popovich has been in the Spurs facility in the last few days. So as Stephen A. just said, and as I reported, he will still be involved, very hands-on, a vital member of their day-to-day operations. And from my understanding is, as much as Greg Popovich wanted to continue to coach, he wanted to be back on the sidelines really badly. He said it in multiple statements this year. The conclusion that he came to is that it essentially was just going to be too taxing for him. The NBA grind as a head coach, it's a difficult one. And he's someone that is recovering from the stroke in November, and he's making strides. He's on a human level. That's very important. On a human level, he is doing much better. He's in a good place, and he is showing up to the facility. He is a part of what's going on with the Spurs every single day. He'll continue to be, along with their CEO, R.C. Buford. Those are the two architects of everything that goes on in San Antonio. So as much as he pushed and wanted to return, the conclusion was just the taxing nature of being an NBA coach was just not something that was going to be sustainable for him.
And I think that's true. And if it took Pop this long to make that decision, that's fine. And I'm glad, by all accounts, Pop made this decision. It would have been very difficult to go into an offseason with those kind of questions. This is the best decision for the organization. I know I've said a couple of times in the last several weeks, maybe it isn't Pop's decision. Or if Pop doesn't make the decision the organization agrees with, then they have to have a conversation. Because it is tough when you're talking about something so personal. It's a lot easier when you're helping somebody make a decision than making a decision for yourself. I mean, Greg Popovich has had a lot of tough conversations through the years with players. Ask Avery Johnson. Cut him on Christmas. Was it Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? It goes with the territory. But when you're talking about yourself, can you be as objective? And I think Greg Popovich made the decision, the organization, what they are doing, their plan moving forward is the best for the organization. New head coach, Pop is still a part of the organization. Peter J. Holt, in the news release today on the announcement, great line. Quote, his accolades and awards don't do justice to the impact he has had on so many people. He is truly one of one as a person, leader, and coach. Beautifully written. If that's straight from Peter J. Holt or whoever there in the PR team, it's true. It's hard to describe Greg Popovich because he is one of one. And let's remember, he wasn't the most popular guy when he took over this job. So while there's a lot of negativity about Mitch Johnson today, if you've been here, you know what it was like when Pop fired Bob Hill and took over. And that team was bad. David was hurt. That got us Tim Duncan and our championship in 99. And even after that championship in 99, and I've been doing sports talk in this town for a long time, 17 years here at this station, and this was obviously before this station was thought of. We launched in 2008. You go back to 99, you go back to, even the title in 03. When things weren't going well, there were fire Pop calls left and right. It was insane. A couple of titles later, it became In Pop We Trust. And now he's at this legendary status. And while things haven't been great the last 7 years without a playoff, there's still that confidence that Greg Popovich would be able to turn things around and get this organization back to the winning ways. We don't skip steps, and I know I'm tired of hearing that. Trust the process, patience, all of that. And you go back and you compare to, I don't remember when the Astros were losing 100 games 3 years in a row. Poor manager had to sit through that. What was his name, Bo Porter? But what did the Astros tell us then? We're building the farm. Well, you know what the Spurs have done? They have built the farm. You look at right now to transition to a new head coach, the cupboard is so full. This roster is so good right now with the potential to get better, but you have the foundation. Think about how many coaches walk into a situation that has a foundation in place. This is the perfect time, stroke aside, for Greg Popovich to hand the baton to somebody else. And that somebody else is Mitch Johnson. But when you think about the foundation with Wemby, you got De'Aaron Fox, you've got Steph Castle. My goodness, what a great foundation to have. And they've got all these picks. So if they want to make trades, they can make trades. They'll have some free agent money. They can manufacture that. I know right now if you look at it, you go, well, money they have to spend, they can find it. There's ways to create money. So the expectation, and it's going to be a burden on Mitch Johnson. It would be a burden on whoever took this job. I wanted a more veteran coach. I thought it would be a more veteran coach. And they go with a 38-year-old who has almost a season as the interim head coach. Trust the organization, but they're testing it with this hire because the pressure to win and win now is going to be on Mitch Johnson's shoulders for two reasons. One, look at this talent. I mean, Wemby seems certainly patient, and Wemby seems all on board with this decision. We talked to Don Harris earlier. We talked to Mike Finger earlier, and both say they don't make this hire without the blessing of Wemby. You knew that. I knew that. We all know that. Wemby's down with this hire. And Wemby's been patient. But you also hear Wemby talking about wanting to win. So not only does Mitch Johnson, with all the experience that he doesn't have this roster, this core, with more pieces to come, but also taking over for a legend. He's going to be in Pop's shadow for a long time. And maybe that's one of the reasons why the Spurs went that direction. Because he knows Pop, he's been a part of this organization, and he's not intimidated by working in Pop's shadow. Now, I like to think that being a coach on this planet that wouldn't want that job if they called and said, hey, you interested? Yeah. Well, where do I sign? But there's probably some that would say, I'm not replacing Pop. And I'd say, I'm glad you answered that way because you're not the guy for the job, you coward. But when you look at it, it is always hard to replace a legend. It is hard. You think about coming in and doing that by going with an internal hire, by promoting Mitch Johnson, by removing the interim tag. The continuity, the consistency, the familiarity, all of that stays in place. There is not somebody that's going to have to come in and learn the Spurs way. Somebody that is, a couple years ago we hired a dude in here and he just wanted to, well, I don't care what you've always done. This is what we're going to do now. And you know what? It doesn't work. And he ain't here. I mean, so you don't have to deal with that with Mitch Johnson. You don't. Some coaches might want to come in and change everything. Or they don't want to hear, I don't care what was happening before. Although I don't know that would happen because you look at the consistency with this organization and what they have done through the years, it is pretty incredible. Pretty damn incredible. Major, major day in the history of San Antonio sports. Probably the biggest sports story. This is bigger than titles. This is bigger than Timmy retiring. This is bigger than David retiring. I mean, this might be the biggest Spurs news since Red McCombs brought him from Dallas in 1973. Seriously. You've got a guy that's been the coach for 29 years, 5 titles, Hall of Famer. And that career officially as a head coach ended today. We've got Eclipse tickets to give away. Pledge is mad at me because I haven't given them away yet.
Nah, I just...
He's been trying to play that button I don't know how many times, and he's looking for the right time, and he's not there.
It's the right time. Don't stop believing. Even with Coach Pop no longer on the sideline.
I see what you're doing there. Where's Eclipse playing? They're going to be at Aztec Theater on May 10th. Eclipse is a tribute to Journey. There's also a band called Fire and Ice on the bill, a tribute to Pat Benatar, and Rock of Ages, a tribute to Legends of Rock. It'll be a fun night at the Aztec Theater. You want to go? Be caller number 12 right now, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Caller 12, you're going to go see Eclipse May 10th, next Saturday night at the Aztec Theater. If you're not caller 12, you can always buy your tickets livenation.com.
Riding 281 with the Blitz. Afternoons 2 to 6, KTFM Floresville, and everywhere at sasportstar.com.
The John Clay Wolf Show. Here's what's going on in the Wolf Pack.
How's your financial situation?
I've been working at Quiznos.
Really?
Really?
They open still?
No. Really good sandwich, baby. Yeah, they were when they were open. Hey! Being in a musical with you, man. Every word is a song.
Yeah.
Schlotzky's is a bunch of bitches.
The John Clay Wolf Show.
Catch the John Clay Wolf Show Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon right here on San Antonio Sports Star.
Cinco de Mayo is near, and the celebration starts at Total Wine & More, your cocktail central. Whether you're shaking up fresh margaritas, sipping on a crisp cerveza, or savoring a smooth tequila, Total Wine is your fiesta celebration destination. So stop by your local Total Wine & More and make this Cinco de Mayo the best one yet. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, B21.
When it comes to vaccines, it's important to get the facts. The City of San Antonio Metropolitan Health District understands that keeping your child safe is your top priority. Vaccines are safe and can help your child's immune system fight harmful germs. They protect against serious diseases and can even save lives. Because when it comes to your child's health, it's time to get real about vaccines and get the facts. Learn more at sa.gov/health. sa.gov/health.
Quarterback Jordan Love isn't just on Green Bay's team. He's also on the American Family Insurance team. Because like us, he believes in dreaming fearlessly.
Just chase your dreams and don't let nobody hold you back.
And we help protect those dreams with the right coverage so you can
dream fearlessly.
American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Gentlemen, testosterone levels can start dropping in your 30s, leading to low energy, reduced libido, and slower metabolism. Rock's Discount Vitamins is making it easy to take back control. No appointments and no prescriptions. Just head into a Rock's and walk out with a natural solution tailored to you. Our powerful line of natural testosterone boosters can help increase energy, build muscle, rev up your metabolism, and reignite your drive. You'll feel the difference and fast. Visit rocksdiscountvitamins.com. We thank God in South Texas.
Did you know that 70% of divorces are filed by women? She's already thinking about it. I urge you, do not get caught off guard. I'm Gary Barton, owner of Barton & Associates, attorneys at law. Divorce is tough. It's emotional, challenging, and can upend everything you've worked hard for. But here's the truth. You have a choice. You can either let your spouse dictate the terms, or you can take control and protect your financial future. At Barton & Associates, this isn't just about getting through the process. It's about protecting what you've built, securing your assets, and ensuring you have the resources to move forward with confidence. You've worked hard for everything you have. and we're here to help safeguard it and avoid unnecessary losses. If you're serious about protecting yourself through the divorce process and securing your future, Barton & Associates is the team you need by your side. Call 210-500-0000. That's 210-5-million. Or visit TexasDivorce.com. That's TexasDivorce.com.
Principal Office, San Antonio.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to Hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
When you switch to Progressive and bundle your home and auto, you could save hundreds, and that's a surprising amount of money.
Whoa, that's like farmer's market money.
That's like give me a gallon of that locally sourced raw honey money.
That's certified organic heirloom tomatoes in every imaginable color except red money.
That's let's get 2 pounds of pink oyster mushrooms money. I'm not even sure I like pink oyster mushrooms.
Guess it's time to find out, because you could save hundreds when you switch to Progressive and bundle. Then the world is your pink oyster mushroom. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
The San Antonio Spurs announced today that Greg Popovich will be transitioning from head coach to president of basketball operations. In his 29 years at the helm, Pop has the most regular season wins in NBA history and led the Spurs to 5 NBA championships and led Team USA to a gold medal. Pop, who suffered a stroke earlier this season, said in a statement, "While his love and passion for the game remain, he's decided it's time to step away." It's been announced that interim head coach Mitch Johnson will succeed Pop as the next head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. I'm James Pledger for San Antonio Sports Star.
Sports Center brought to you by Centergenics. Book your appointment at fixmylowteam.com.
Joe Reinagel.
That's the third time in 7 seasons the San Antonio Spurs are the NBA champions.
Jason Minix.
They go back to big day as Super Bowl champions. Dallas 52, Buffalo 17.
It's the Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Joe Reinagel has the day off on this Friday. I'm Jason Minix. Big news of the day. Leading Sports Center right now. What we've been talking about for 3 hours, and we'll continue talking about it. Greg Popovich no longer the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. He's transitioning to just be president of basketball operations. Something we've been talking about for weeks is probably the best move for the organization. That's what they've done. And then they announced that Mitch Johnson will be the head coach. There will be no search, no veteran guy. And while it is a day off, Joe Reinagel on the Buyers Barricades at Guest Line golf tournament up in Kerrville, although I hear there's hail in Kerrville. How's golf?
Well, no hail in Kerrville, Jason. We're just fine up here. It rained a little bit, but we got our par 3 tournament in. I played well. My partner, not so much.
Dude, the son-in-law, the future son-in-law didn't get it done?
I'm telling you, man, I'm about ready to kick him out of the family. I'm telling you, hit a ball in the water today. I don't know what he's thinking, but the good news is I don't want to win the par 3 tournament because nobody ever wins the tournament if you win the par 3 tournament.
Dude, you're not at the Masters.
Well, for me it is, my friend.
I guess, although you got to talk to that son-in-law now. I mean, maybe not pay for as much of the wedding.
No kidding, right? No kidding.
Well, maybe this weekend he'll play better.
I hope so.
I imagine around that golf course everybody's talking about Greg Popovich and the decision that was announced today. Don't know when exactly the decision was made, but this is the best for the organization for him to stay as president, but not be the head coach?
You know, Jason, you and I have been talking about that for a couple of weeks now, even longer than that, in fact. But that Pop needed to make a decision. We both thought that he needed to step down, stay with the organization, and that's exactly what he did today. And it's really a bittersweet day for me, I'll be honest with you, because Greg Popovich is an institution. I mean, this guy is he's going to be honored around these parts for a long, long time. And you hate to see him go out the way he's having to go out with the stroke and the physical disabilities that he's facing. But, you know, it was time, and I'm glad he made the decision today.
And again, it's the right decision, and I wondered aloud even yesterday while we were sitting over there at the Spurs fan shop at the Rocket La Cantera's before Taste of the North Side, wondering, is Pop always puts the organization first, but this is so personal. And, you know, he wanted to continue to coach. For him to come to the conclusion that he just can't, and objectively make that decision on your own. And by all accounts, that's what has happened. It is difficult because everybody you know in a position like that, whether it's an athlete or a coach, they want to control their exit. And because of the stroke, Pop lost that control.
You know, and I really feel bad for Pop in that circumstance because, yeah, you know, he deserved the chance to go out on his own. Unfortunately, life happens, right? We never know when something like this is going to happen. I'm sorry it did. He tried to come back. I'm sure of that. I'm sure he worked as hard as he could to get back, but just finally came to the realization that he can't handle the physical duties of being a head coach in the NBA. And I think this decision was made weeks ago. I really do. I don't think this was something that happened yesterday or today or, you know, 3 days ago. I think it was made. And I think the fact that they've already decided that Mitch Johnson is going to take over tells you as much. And this was already put in place, and the announcements came bang, bang. So sad that Greg Popovich is leaving this way. No matter what you thought about Pop off the court, on the court, he's one of the greatest head coaches that will ever coach in the NBA. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He deserves to be recognized as one of the GOATs in coaching. And his legacy is certainly that. I mean, tremendous job coaching this San Antonio Spurs franchise.
29-year run as head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. The quote from Peter J. Holt in the statement today, the news release, calls him truly one of one as a person, leader, and coach. And that is true. And, you know, as we've talked about throughout the day, you know, it's one thing with X's and O's, but his ability to connect with his players is incredible, and that goes to it. It's so much more than just basketball or what we see during a 2.5-hour NBA game.
But, yeah, there's no question about it. And, you know, I find it interesting, Jason, the fact that the Spurs made the announcement that Mitch Johnson is going to be the guy. And I feel like in a lot of ways I understand why they did that, but in another part of me says why? Why not wait a day or two to make that announcement? Because I feel like Greg Popovich deserves a day for everybody to praise him, the accolades and all of that. But I feel like it's just going the other way. I think, well, Pop's going to retire, and I think we all kind of felt that is the way it was going to go. But then you've got Mitch Johnson, that announcement, and everybody's talking about that, whether it's good or bad. And I'm curious what the response has been on your end throughout the day, because I tweeted out just a simple why Mitch Johnson, I don't understand. And, well, the Spurs cult is raking me over the coals today because it's like, well, how dare you question the greatness of the Spurs organization? And I'm like, I don't understand, and it really baffled me. What kind of response have you gotten today?
You know, it is interesting. I would probably say, without any scientific numbers, about 80-20 negative. And that's one of the more bizarre things in balancing today's show with the Pop news and trying to celebrate the incredible career and run that he had, and the fact that they hired Mitch Johnson, who, you know, most of the responses have been negative because of who's out there. The veteran coach that they could have gotten, somebody with more experience, the bigger name, all of that is there. Now, granted, when Pop took over for Bob Hill, it was very negative there too. So it'd be interesting, but also, as Mike Finger pointed out when he was on with us earlier from the Express News, Wemby, that's Wemby's guy, Wemby's blessing. That had to factor in. But I do think, Joe, one of the reasons they did the Bang Bang announcement and no real search, decisions were already made. Greg Popovich probably hates all the accolades pouring in and everything, although he deserves it. I'm glad that he's getting to see this. At the same time, if they would have waited a day or two, you know what today's show would have turned into? Who's next? Who do you want? Do you want Malone? Do you want Jenkins? What about Steve Kerr? Could it be this guy? Because there's not a coach on planet Earth that wouldn't want this job with the foundation that they have in place, starting with Wemby.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And I guess that's why they did it. That's the only thing I can think of, Jason, is why they went ahead and made that announcement. So there's no speculation. There's no hoping for somebody else. Look, Mitch Johnson is a talented guy. There's no question about that. He's obviously a very good basketball guy. He's grown up in the Spurs organization. But we were able to watch him coach last year, and I don't know if anybody can tell me, and I'm not saying he did a horrible job, but there were times where he just didn't seem to know what to do. And maybe that changes as we move forward. But the only issue that I have with this is the fact that you've got a team that is on the verge of rebuilding and that can really make some noise in the Western Conference. And I think with what the moves the Spurs are going to make, with the draft picks that they have coming up, I just think a veteran coach coming in here and coaching this team and putting his stamp on it with Pop's approval, I think would have been the best way to go. Mitch Johnson, I feel like it's on-the-job training for him. And I still feel like that's going to be the case as we go into next year. And for me, that's a little bit concerning.
The idea of replacing a legend, you don't want to be the guy that replaces a legend. He'll be in the shadow. The only thing I could figure is the 2 hours we're watching a game is what we're judging Mitch Johnson on. They've been judging him and watching him in practices, speeches, the command that he has in the locker room, the respect that he has from the players. I'm trying to convince myself he's the right guy because I wanted a more veteran guy in here. I was stunned and disappointed when I saw that. And no offense to Mitch Johnson, but you're driving what kind of car? But my guess is all the players speak highly of him. And they're evaluating him more than what we see. The in-game stuff, who's he going to have on his staff that he's going to be able to lean on? Not to steal the line from J.J. Redick the other day, but, he's right. He's going to have assistant coaches that hopefully have that kind of experience. And there is a reason he was tabbed to be the interim coach when Pop had the stroke in early November. It is surprising. And part of me feels bad because I'm sure Mitch Johnson, as soon as he decided he wanted to be a coach for his career, dreamt one day of becoming a head coach. And the almost universal negative reaction has got to be disappointing for him.
Well, I would think so, but in a way, I would think he's got to expect that a little bit. I mean, look, Spurs fans are passionate, to say the least, and they want to see this franchise succeed. And I just don't think most Spurs fans think that he's the right guy. Now, look, fans don't pick the coach. I understand that. But we have Mitch Johnson. So I think as Spurs fans, from what I've experienced from Spurs fans, they're going to give this guy a shot. I'm going to give him a shot, and I hope I'm dead wrong about this guy. I hope he succeeds. I hope next year at this time, I hope I'm apologizing to Mitch Johnson because the Spurs have done such an incredible job. I just am a little and honestly, I'm a little disappointed today that we have the announcement of Pop's retirement or moving or whatever you want to call it, and then you get the announcement of the new head coach right away. It is somewhat disappointing to me that we didn't give Pop at least one day to celebrate what he has done for this city, for this franchise, and for the NBA, quite frankly. So we didn't get that, and I know people are a little bit disappointed. I certainly am. But we wish Mitch Johnson the best and the Spurs the best as they move forward.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this, just playing devil's advocate. if they did a search and we knew so-and-so came in for an interview, so-and-so came in for an interview, and they decided on Mitch Johnson, would you feel better about it?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know that I would, quite frankly. And again, look, the Spurs organization knows Mitch Johnson a lot better than I do. But I did watch games last year, and I did watch a guy that was learning on the job. Now, look, he was pushed into that job, and they thought he was ready for it. I don't think he was, and I'm still not sure that he is. And my concern is when you're at this moment in a franchise's history and you've got an opportunity to take this team to the next level, hiring a guy that still needs a little on-the-job training concerns me a little bit. Maybe he learned all he needed to learn, and he'll go into this offseason. He'll talk to Pop. He'll talk to others, and things will be different next year. I hope that's the case. I just think this is such a pivotal point in this franchise's history, and they've got an opportunity to really move this thing forward. Going with a rookie, an inexperienced head coach, to me, is just, quite frankly, it's scary. It really is, because you got all the pieces. Why not have a top-notch head coach as well?
It's interesting, and I don't know if we will actually get any kind of answer to that. Press conference is Monday morning at 11 a.m. By all accounts, Pop will not be there, but everybody else of note within the organization's front office will be, and it'll be interesting to see if they address those. But again, I feel like they knew when they sent this out, obviously, that Mitch was the guy. And I got to believe Pop and RC and Peter J. Holt and whoever else, Brian Wright, they probably had discussions about, is Mitch ready, or should we look at this guy, and that guy, and they go with Mitch. And, again, not where I thought they were going to go with that, but here we are.
Here we are, Jason. Hopefully we're all dead wrong about Mitch Johnson, and he succeeds, and this franchise moves forward. I hope that is the case. I really want to apologize to him this time next year. But right now, quite frankly, it's a really bittersweet day in my mind.
Very well said. Joe Reinagle. So you had the par 3 tournament today, and apparently your partner sucked.
He sucked. He hit one in the water, and I'm not going to let him live it down. He better play well tomorrow.
Is he sitting right next to you right now?
No, he's not, but I've been chastising him since.
The future son-in-law.
And it won't stop.
And not making the best of impressions, right? Like you handpicked him as a partner for this because he's supposed to be pretty good at this old golf game, huh?
I know. I should have picked Pledge, for goodness sake.
I don't know. Last time I saw Pledge play, you kicked his ass.
That's true.
And you don't want Pledge as a son-in-law.
No. Not saying that for sure.
Joe, go drink a beer.
Right where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, go drink
Thanks,
a beer,
brother.
man. Have fun this weekend. Joe Reinagle on an off day, but obviously a day like today, it's one of those days. Maybe the biggest sports story, biggest sports event in the history of San Antonio outside of when the organization moved here in 1973. You want to react to Pop? You want to react to Mitch Johnson being the head coach? Now's the time to do it. It's me and you until 6 o'clock. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. You know, I told you last night there would be one Game 7. Thought the Knicks would win, and they did. Thought the Clippers would roll the Nuggets, and they did. We've got one game tonight. Golden State a chance to close out Houston at home. I think they get that done. You're going to watch that game. Starts at 8 o'clock. Want to add excitement to watching it? Make sure you download the Underdog app and play the Pick'em game and take advantage of their extender promo because, you know, we're at Game 6 in that series. The longer the series, the bigger the boost. That's what the extender promo does. Every game, the boosts get bigger. Underdog is the leading place to go make all your sports picks, one of the top sports apps out there. Millions of fans have won billions of dollars, and all you have to do on the Pick'em game is choose higher or lower on predicted stats. So download the Underdog app where you can play for as little as $1. Use my promo code STAR when you sign up to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Again, promo code STAR at Underdog. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. Present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
If you travel as much as the San Antonio sports guys travel, while you're on the road, be sure to take us along. Listen to the 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star live stream anywhere on the Odyssey radio app.
Hey, San Antonio. Multiple tours overseas, years of protecting the country. It all adds up at University of Maryland Global Campus. Earn up to 90 credits for prior learning, military experience, and training toward our low-cost degree and certificate programs. We call that credit where credit is due. For over 75 years, our dedicated success coaches have been helping service members achieve their goals. Get started with local support and online and hybrid courses right here in San Antonio. Visit UMGC at San Antonio or umgc.edu/SATS.
Hi, my name is Jason Thompson. I'm an attorney here in San Antonio where I've practiced for more than 30 years. And San Antonio has really grown since I started practicing law. The risk of injury in a car crash today is greater than it's ever been because every day we're forced to share our roads with 80,000-pound 18-wheelers and some truly dangerous drivers. If you or a family member is injured in a car crash, know this. The insurance companies are mobilized against you. They have highly trained adjusters and a long roster of attorneys with one job: pay as little as possible. Their techniques are extensive, and I believe you have zero chance of obtaining a fair recovery on your own. If you're involved in a car crash, you need to hire an attorney as soon as possible after the collision and before you speak to the insurance company's adjusters. Now, I do not have a comic book nickname. I do not call myself the Law Eagle, the Tiger Lawyer, the Law Chupacabra. I think the practice of law needs to be taken more seriously. If you've been injured, call me, Jason Thompson, for a free consultation. My number is 210-900-0400. That's 210-900-0400, or my website, alawyerforus.com.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
So, your small business is outgrowing your garage. You could go online, find a space, and get catfished. Or you could work with an agent who's a realtor, here to guide and help protect you from the surprises you didn't see coming. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. Right by you.
Mellow Mushroom has the best pizza in San Antonio. Mellow delivers the best pizza experience with their delicious dough, premium ingredients, and unique flavors. Delivering a higher order of pizza is the standard. If Mellow can make a pizza this delicious, imagine what they can do with munchies, greens, calzones, and burgers. Mellow Mushroom has San Antonio's best happy hour with food specials and half-off adult beverages. Mellow Mushroom is at 1604 in Stone Oak Parkway. Hang with friends, watch the game, and mellow out at Mellow Mushroom.
If you're looking to up your beer game, Karbach has you covered. From Hopadillo to Crawford Bach to Ziegenbach to their best seller, the Love Street, there's something for everybody in the lineup, and you can find it anywhere. Next time you're out and about, ask your bartender to make it a Karbach.
Now they always say congratulations.
"29 years. Greg Popovich, no longer the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, made that announcement today. Don't know when he actually made the decision, but Greg Popovich, no longer the head coach. Weird, isn't it? Feels weird. I'm Jason Minix. Ryan Eagles off today. It is the Blitz here on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star and on YouTube. Subscribe to the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel. The idea that He just can't anymore. Doesn't surprise anybody. Shouldn't surprise anybody. Quite honestly, I think I would have been more surprised if he was actually able to come back. Now, there were some times early on where it felt like maybe he would. And okay, I mean, but, the longer it took and the longer he has stayed out of public eye, or when you do hear of Pop sightings, and then you go, there's no way. Like I've been saying for a couple of months, somebody would ask me, what do you think? I'd be surprised. I would have been surprised. And the move today is exactly what we have been talking about probably should happen. And that is Pop stays with the organization as team president. Just keep that role and turn over the day-to-day coaching to somebody else. It's so different in the NBA than, say, football, where you got one game a week. Just the hours, the practice, the travel, the lack of sleep. I mean, that would be tough on a 76-year-old in great shape, let alone one that recently suffered a stroke, who also recently had some sort of medical episode at a local restaurant and left by ambulance. All accounts there seems okay. Who knows what that was. But while I think we all expected this, to actually see it in writing, to get the press release, the finality of Greg Popovich's coaching career, it's sad. It does hit you. It hits you different. I mean, I've been saying for weeks, we need to know. I know, and I'm like, oh, crap, what do we do now? It is bizarre. And then they quickly announced Mitch Johnson as the head coach. So you don't even really fully get to celebrate the incredible career of Greg Popovich. Because immediately you're going, you hired Mitch? There's no search. There's no all the speculation. Spurs just took all that away, which very Spursy thing to do. And I've been trying to balance on the show today, celebrating Pop and talking about Mitch. You can do either. You want to talk Pop, you want to talk Mitch, phone lines are open. It's me and you for the next 30 minutes. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Joshua, you're on the Blitz. What's going on, man?
Hey, Jason. I'm here. I'm a little sad. The rain is mainly my tears because Pop is gone. Pop has officially retired, and it's probably for medical reasons and for good issue that he is. And I want to just say thank you, Pop. You've given the city of San Antonio some amazing years and some highs. I will complain on Monday when y'all introduce Mitch Johnson as the next head coach, but today we will celebrate you, Pop. I know you tried to control it and say we're going to do this Mitch thing and keep it all off of Pop, but nah, Pop. We're going to send Friday and this weekend to talk about Pop and how great he is, and we're going to cry about it because he's no longer the head coach. And all the great times that he gave us, 2014, probably best championship run that they've had. And we just want to say thank you, Pop. And Monday, I will definitely complain about this Mitch conversation. But today, it's going to be on Pop.
And again, thank you, Pop. And I don't know if Dixie Flag has made one of those giant flags yet over there on I-35 to say thank you, Pop. But that's what we should be doing today. And with the quick announcement of Mitch Johnson, we don't really have that full opportunity. He will be celebrated. He should be celebrated. Whatever you do for a coach for retiring a number, whatever banner they put up at the Frostbank Center, the tributes are incredible. And I've been reading and seeing the different clips, especially with so many of his interviews. And some of those interviews are just incredible, especially the in-game ones. And that's one thing about Greg Popovich, that he doesn't like doing interviews. 17 years I've been doing this show, he's never once come on. And you don't hear him going on anybody else's show, locally, nationally. He just doesn't like to do them. But he's funny as hell. And the times that I've been around Greg Popovich in a non-interview setting, he's incredible. And anybody that has been around him, they all have similar stories because he's funny, he's kind, he's genuine. When you're talking with Greg Popovich in those kind of settings, you know you have the undivided attention of Greg Popovich. I know there was one time years ago, there was this celebrity waiter kind of deal for the food bank raising money, and, you know, Spurs players are doing that and other media types and whatnot. And in a setting like that, Pop, just incredible. And does he get on you about stuff? Yeah, because I don't know wines like Pop. Most don't know wines like Pop. But apparently I didn't pour wine properly one time. But he taught me, this is how you do it. He's just an incredible, kind person that way. Now, sure, you see some of the actions in interviews. Every reporter that's been around San Antonio, you almost carry it like a badge of honor. It's called getting popped. When you ask a legitimate question and he kind of berates you, belittles you. That's, you know, but then there's other times where you might ask a question and you get some real genuine answers. I'll never forget Media Day a couple of years ago. It was Rudy J. And, you know, it was Media Day after Pop had lost his wife and the previous April. And Rudy just asked him, dude, you're human. How are you? And one of the most genuine answers you'll hear from Greg Popovich. And that was one of the things when you would do interviews with him, mostly group sessions, you had no idea what Pop you were going to get. So, you know, there is that side of him. You know, Antonio Daniels, another guy that used to work here, on his Sirius XM show today, talked about why Coach Pop is the greatest of all time.
You know, he saw who guys were, recognized their potential, and then put them in a position to be successful with what they did best, along with, and this is why I say he's the greatest coach of all time, having a true understanding of the players that he coached.
It was more than X's and O's. It was the ability to connect. You know, when you see Pop sitting down and telling stories about Tony Parker, you know, going before they drafted Tim Duncan down to the islands to hang out with Tim. The connection that those have, Sean Elliott, who will come on the show on Monday, those relationships, the going to dinners, like everybody, I mean, it's not about X's and O's with Greg Popovich. You know, win or lose, we're going to dinner. Let's go have a great meal. He always picks up the tab. He tips well. I mean, so many incredible stories. And he's a legend. And he didn't start out as a legend. Neither is Mitch Johnson. But keep in mind, you know, and I was working here, not here at this station, but working in San Antonio. I'll never forget, you know, Bob Hill getting fired and Greg Popovich taking over. And I was a young guy in the business then. And nobody liked Pop. Nobody liked Pop. And the fire Pop calls that we would get, I mean, it was a mantra. And even after the first championship, it was still fire Pop, fire Pop, fire Pop. And the timing of this announcement today, when you look at what the Spurs have now, is perfect. This is the perfect time for Greg Popovich to step down as head coach and hand the baton to somebody else. When you look at this roster, you look at the foundation is set, you look at the draft picks and all the assets that they have if they choose to go make some major trades. Now is the time. You're not leaving the cupboard empty. You're not. It's not bare. It's not a bad situation for Mitch Johnson to inherit. In fact, trying to think of a better situation that a coach has walked into because he's set up for success. He's not set up for failure. So many first-time coaches are set up for failure because they're going to a bad organization with a bad roster, which is why they were looking for a new coach anyway, and they're never given enough time to actually turn things around. Mitch Johnson is taking over an incredible situation. And it's going to be his job not to screw it up. I was going to say something else, but I like my job. But you know what I mean. Let's talk about Mitch Johnson and what he has, why he might have been the guy. And more of your calls, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Coming up here on The Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Quarterback Jordan Love isn't just on Green Bay's team. He's also on the American Family Insurance team. Because like us, he believes in dreaming fearlessly.
Just chase your dreams and don't let nobody hold you back.
And we help protect those dreams with the right coverage so you can
dream fearlessly.
American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
The John Clay Wolf Show. Here's what's going on in the Wolf Pack.
I took my stepdad's Bronco 2 to the beach in Nantucket, and I hooked up with this, get this.
Yes?
Danish nanny.
Of course.
So you do have a type.
Yes.
The John Clay Wolf Show.
Catch the John Clay Wolf Show Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon right here on San Antonio Sports Star.
When you switch to Progressive and bundle your home and auto, you could save hundreds, and that's a surprising amount of money.
Whoa, that's like farmer's market money.
That's like give me a gallon of that locally sourced raw honey money.
That's certified organic heirloom tomatoes in every imaginable color except red money.
That's let's get 2 pounds of pink oyster mushrooms money. I'm not even sure I like pink oyster mushrooms.
Guess it's time to find out, because you could save hundreds when you switch to Progressive and bundle. Then the world is your pink oyster mushroom. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it. But not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
You could think you found your dream home online, but here's the twist. The lot next door just got rezoned for years of construction. Work with the expertise and ethical training of a Realtor, here to guide and help protect you from the surprises you didn't see coming. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors, right by you.
Gentlemen, testosterone levels can start dropping in your 30s, leading to low energy, reduced libido, and slower metabolism. Rock's Discount Vitamins is making it easy to take back control. No appointments and no prescriptions. Just head into a Rock's and walk out with a natural solution tailored to you. Our powerful line of natural testosterone boosters can help increase energy, build muscle, rev up your metabolism, and reignite your drive. You'll feel the difference and fast. Visit rocksdiscountvitamins.com. We thank God in South Texas.
An accident can leave you struggling to pay for medical bills. At Thomas J. Henry, we believe you deserve justice, no matter your financial situation. That's why you don't pay us unless we win your case. Thomas J. Henry, the name you know, the firm you trust. San Antonio, Texas.
There's a reason Intuitive Services Group handles our janitorial needs here at 94.1. They're local and serious about cleanliness. From nightly cleaning to detailed floor care, they deliver. We trust them, and you can too. Call Mo at 830-470-3007. That's 830-470-3007.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Ryan Egel off today. I'm Jason Minix. You never know when you wake up what this show's going to be like. I had some things planned today. Knowing Joe was off, you're normal. And then you get the announcement you've been waiting for, but you didn't expect it today. Did not honestly say that I expected it today. Kind of wanted it today. It's early May. Been saying for weeks, man, we got to know. We got to know. The timing always interesting, and you try to figure out why now. It's Fiesta Friday, the Battle of Flowers Parade, Friday news dump, but Friday news dumps happen at 4 o'clock, not 11 a.m. Who knows when the actual decision was made? I do believe, though, that waiting until after Steph Castle's Rookie of the Year award was a part of it. You don't want to overshadow that, and that's the final chapter on this season. That was the only thing left on the to-do list was, does he win the award, which we all knew he was, and have that press conference. And we even talked about when that press conference happened, how careful they were. And Brian Wright was there. It wasn't like a podium situation. Brian Wright didn't take questions from the media. Steph Castle took a handful of questions, and that was it. So even if you wanted to bring it up, which it wouldn't be the appropriate place to, they made sure that opportunity didn't happen. I feel like that was probably by design. Then you look at, all right, it's Friday. They sent out a statement on Pop and then quickly follow with the announcement that Mitch Johnson is the new head coach, no longer the interim head coach. And I think they do that because at that point, there's no speculation on who is going to be the next head coach, right? To give you an idea, the Greg Popovich statement showed up right at 11 a.m. The Mitch Johnson statement showed up in my email at 12:02. At 12:05 was the press conference for Mitch Johnson. All by design. Clearly all by design. And I do believe this keeps any speculation out. So, and I know what today's show would have been had they not named Mitch Johnson the head coach. It would have been celebrate Pop and who's going to be the next. Who do you want? In fact, I was on a group text with Rob Thompson and one of the guys that works for one of the companies that puts out all the odds. And he was asking Rob and I's input on what we were thinking. Mitch Johnson, by the way, on the list that never went out was third. The Spurs killed all of that speculation immediately by naming Mitch Johnson the new head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. And overall, the majority of the reaction to Mitch has been negative because he's not experienced and he doesn't have the big name, and there are guys with rings that are available. And quite frankly, I think there are guys that currently have jobs, one that might be coaching a game tonight, that might leave that situation to come to this one. Because there's not a coach on this planet that wouldn't want this job when you've got Wemby, you've got Castle, and you've got De'Aaron Fox. Who wouldn't want this job? They didn't go do a bunch of interviews and then come back and say, yep, Mitch was the best. I got to believe that over there in their offices, Spurs brass had discussions about, can Mitch do this? Is Mitch the guy? What about this guy? What about this guy? What about Becky? What about, and you name the list. You look at Pop's coaching tree, and it's a freaking forest. Continuity? Check. Understanding the Spurs way? Check. I mean, Mitch Johnson checks all the boxes except experience. And I'm not overly excited about the hire because of what I saw Mitch do this past year. Times I thought he was in way over his head. Fair? Probably not, to be honest. And I see him coach a game, 2.5 hours. Spurs brass have been watching him run practices, run meetings, run film sessions, how he connects with guys individually. We had Mike Finger on from the San Antonio Express News earlier today. And if you missed it, Mike Finger doesn't do a lot of interviews. Brilliant guy. Go listen to it on the Audio Vault at sasportstar.com, powered by AA Best Bail Bonds. Mike Finger tells an incredible story about when Mitch first got here. It was kind of work with DeJounte Murray. And I think we all know DeJounte's upbringing, and, they needed that. And we know that Mitch was kind of the guy for Wemby. And when Pop had the stroke and Mitch took over as the interim head coach, all the pregame stuff that he used to do with Wemby, he still did. Head coaches don't do that. They don't. Now, granted, kind of a dual role, but Wemby's his guy. And, Wemby signed off on this. I'm not saying that Wemby demanded it. I don't know that. But Wemby, De'Aaron Fox, all the players speak so highly of Mitch Johnson. I don't think anybody in that organization is upset with he doesn't have any experience. And it'd be interesting to see who he adds to his staff. Some of those veteran head coaches that are assistants, J.J. Redick, that you can lean on and help. Like Mitch Johnson at 38, and you read his resume, and I don't know Mitch. I've talked to him, I think, twice. The idea that he would be a head coach in the NBA is not a surprise. To be the head coach at 38 of this team, to me, is a surprise. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Hey, Keith, you're on the Blitz. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, man? Always enjoy your shows and your comments and your takes, but I'm not a Spurs fan. Yes, wrong city, but I just want to say, like you said earlier, at one point people didn't like Popovich, right? You got to give the guy a chance. A good example in the NFL is McVay. Everyone thought he was horrible with the Rams. Look what happened. Popovich signed off on this at the end of the day. So a lot of Spurs fans, in my opinion, are questioning his judgment and his assessment because this guy was a coach in waiting for a reason. He might not be a Hall of Famer, but he's a viable option. And there's been a lot of guys that have went on to have pretty good coaching careers under Pop. So I've always respected the Spurs, even though they're a rival. But, kudos to his illustrious career, Hall of Famer, no doubt. But, yeah, a lot of these Spurs fans are like my Cowboy fans. They over-exaggerate, just like with Shotty. Hey, you got to give him a chance. Let him fail first. Don't bash him.
Well, it's – and I get what you're saying, Keith, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. I mean, he might end up being a great coach. He might be a Hall of Fame coach. He might have a 30-year run in him. But the expectation, you bring up Schottenheimer. Who else is out there that you think would be better for this job? And part of that is we have seen what those other guys can do. And great coaches get fired all the time, so I'm not worried about why somebody's available, like a Taylor Jenkins or a Mike Malone. We know what they can do. They've proved it. They've got skins on the wall. Mitch Johnson doesn't. And when you were watching last year, you saw at times Mitch Johnson look over his head. You could question his rotations. You could question usage of timeouts or plays that he drew up. And I do take into account, especially after Wemby went out with the blood clots, that maybe in the fourth quarter they weren't trying to win. So some of his decisions were to not win the game, if you know what I mean. And so I'm not judging fourth quarter Mitch Johnson. But if you look when Wemby was healthy, so this team wasn't very good. And some of that was coaching decisions late that we criticized the day after those games, whether it was on the morning huddle or here on the Blitz. And I think that's why there are fans that aren't overly excited about Mitch Johnson. Will they come around? Yes. And if he went, and I hope I'm wrong, Keith. I hope next year after they get 52 wins and they're the 4th seed that all you people can call me and say how wrong you were, even though all your comments here on our YouTube page and some of the tweets I've gotten today, we could say are saved receipts, if you will. But I hope I'm wrong. And I know you hope you're wrong, and we will give this guy a chance. I just think it's the initial shock that that's what they did. It's meatloaf. It's comfort food. He will put his own fingerprints on this team as the head coach that maybe he couldn't do last year as the interim coach, thinking that he's just trying to keep everything, going in the right direction until Pop can come back. Pop is still there as president. Pop's not leaving the organization. RC is still there. Brian Wright is still there. The Spurs brass, all they did was say, interim is off your name. You are the head coach. But when you look at some of the coaches that you think that the Spurs could have gone after within the coaching tree that understand the Spurs way, and you go with Mitch Johnson, it's a surprise. Maybe a bigger surprise than Schottenheimer getting the job in Dallas. But in a very similar way, Dak liked him. Wemby likes Mitch. Not that Wemby is calling all the shots, but his input is invaluable. Every reporter, from a Mike Finger to a Jeff McDonald to a Joe Reinagle to a me to a Don Harris to a Greg Simmons, the day Wemby got drafted, he was the most important person in the organization. Just like the day Timmy got drafted, he was the most important person in the organization. Just like when David finally showed up after he got drafted, he was the most important person in the organization. If Wemby didn't like him, we're talking about somebody else. And on a day like today, Memphis named their new head coach. It was the interim guy. You look on Twitter, Memphis fans aren't excited either. And sometimes it's because we fall in love with the name, the idea. This guy won championships there. What can he do here? Mitch doesn't have that. He doesn't have that resume. I hope he gets those. I hope he gets those quick. I want to get back to being a championship city and having the parades and long playoff runs. And I'm not a coffee drinker, but free coffee after playoff wins. I mean, I miss those days. I truly miss those days. A couple weeks ago, I was in Oklahoma for the Cross-Canadian Ragweed Show, and I was jealous that because we went to the show in Stillwater on Friday. Saturday night, we're hanging out in Bricktown, that downtown area of Oklahoma City, and you saw all the Oklahoma City Thunder flags on the buildings, everything but car flags, all the Thunder T-shirt, just the excitement that Oklahoma City has for their basketball team, ready for this long playoff run. And I miss those days. I want to get back to those days. And hopefully Mitch Johnson can lead this team to those days because he's got the foundation to do it. He's got Wemby. He's got De'Aaron Fox. He's got Steph Castle. And he's got, obviously, the blessing of Greg Popovich. The cupboard is full. Everything is here for him to be successful. He just can't screw it up at this point. And you know what Greg Popovich has said many times with the big three? Just don't screw it up. And Pop didn't. He's in the Hall of Fame. 5 championships. All the wins. All of it. And as Steve Kerr said today in an article, I don't know if it was today, but I read it today in an article, every time they get together, we sit down, he'll pour the wine, and he'll say every time, here's to Tim Duncan. And hopefully in years, Mitch is doing the same thing. Here's to Wemby. Just don't screw it up. And the one thing that Mitch Johnson has to be is Mitch Johnson. Jacob Toby, the Spurs' new television play-by-play guy, just finished his rookie season. He posted a video on his Instagram. And Jacob did a rare sit-down interview with Greg Popovich. And Jacob asked Pop for any advice.
Any advice for me?
I think you just be who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. And if that's not good enough for him, screw him.
Screw him.
Screw him. And I'm going to guess that Greg Popovich is going to give that same advice to Mitch Johnson, if he hasn't already. And he probably will say that to Mitch Johnson many times. Probably said that when he could after the stroke. the interim coach when there was criticism. Be you. And that's what Mitch Johnson has to be. And I hope he's successful. I'm a Spurs fan. I'm not going to shy away from that. Wasn't excited about the pick, but I know I'll come around. It's, should be a day to celebrate Pop. Pledge just sent me some. You can talk about that on Extra Innings with Pledge, which is coming up next. I need a beer. It's been a day. The Morning Huddle, 6 to 10 on Monday morning. We're back tomorrow, Monday at 2. All the reaction from the Mitch Johnson press conference we'll have on the Blitz on Monday. Extra Innings with Pledge. If you missed the Mike Finger interview earlier, Pledge is going to replay that for you coming up here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
You're riding with the Blitz.